Title: Douluo Qing Boom. A tremendous roar, as if crashing down from beyond the ninth heaven, ripped through the quiet depths of the Star-Du Great Forest. A blade of light, hundreds of zhang long, wrapped in brilliant starlight, cleaved the air like the wrath of a god. Wherever it passed, space shattered like glass. The shock of energy made soul beasts miles away tremble and prostrate themselves as if the world were ending. High above, a figure stood calm and proud, a young man with black clothes, unkempt black hair, a faint beard, and eyes sharp as blades. He gripped a uniquely shaped pitch-black long saber, and surging purple flames burned around him, shooting into the sky and dyeing the expanse a deep violet. He had just swung his saber. His target was an ancient giant tree below, so immense its canopy masked the sky. Sensing the mortal threat, the tree gathered a vast pool of green energy, forming an emerald barrier above its crown, thick as a mountain. But before that destructive purple blade, the seemingly indestructible shield was as fragile as paper. Crack! The barrier didn't hold for an instant. It shattered into countless motes of light. The blade light struck the giant tree's trunk without mercy. Crack! That towering ancient tree, which had stood for tens of thousands of years, was cleaved clean in two. The earth trembled. The residual blade energy sliced into the ground, leaving a bottomless ravine 1,000 meters long. The young man's eyes were icy. Without pause, he shouted, "Spirit bone skill, starhorn demonic whale cannon." Roar, a whale's roar, as if from the primeval depths, shook heaven and earth. A massive purple-gold demonic whale phantom, enormous as a mountain range, appeared behind him, exuding a terrifying pressure. The phantom's single horn flared, compressing unimaginable energy. A dizzyingly brilliant purple light cannon streamed forth like a river of stars, blasting the remaining tree remnants. Sizzle! Boom! Under the cannon's impact, the tree fragments melted and disintegrated, dissolving into the most primitive particles. When the light cleared, only a dazzling spirit ring floated in the air. It was blood red, so vivid it seemed impossible to dissolve, and on its surface a golden pattern gleamed, its power far surpassing an ordinary 100,000-year spirit ring. Qing flashed down and stood before the spirit ring. Pale from exertion, his eyes nevertheless shone with irrepressible joy. "Indeed, this is a beast whose cultivation far exceeds 100,000 years," he murmured, weary but thrilled. "As long as I absorb this spirit ring, I, Qing, will ascend to the realm of a titled Douluo today." With a thought, the pitch-black long saber in his hand, black star sinking abyss, dissipated. He beckoned with his right hand, and a right leg bone radiating powerful life energy flew into his palm. "My fourth spirit bone," Qing whispered, a small smile on his lips. Without hesitation, he sat cross-legged and began fusing the spirit bone while circulating his cultivation method to restore his soul power. As the spirit bone absorbed, his thoughts drifted back over his life. His name was Qing, but his soul had come from Lan Star. He was a transmigrator. His previous life had been ordinary, and that ordinariness burned into him after transmigration like a fire refusing to be mediocre. Fate, however, had mocked him. The day his martial soul awakened at 6 was the most humiliating day of both his lives. He had awakened 2 martial souls, a common green leaf and a rusty iron block. Innate soul power, rank 3. Innate rank 3, others had said with pity. What a pity it's a trash martial soul. Our family resources are limited. We can't waste them on a trash martial soul. If only your martial soul had been the azure willow. Those looks of pity cut deep. Start with a trash martial soul? So what? He refused to accept fate. He would shatter the martial soul's shackles and fight for his path. Fortunately, Qing had 2 advantages: his identity as a transmigrator and his unique eyes, the Eye of Fortune. These eyes could glimpse the light of fortune on all things. White, yellow, purple, black, red, the deeper the color, the greater the opportunity. With them, he found hope in desperate situations and seized fleeting chances. He remembered a ruthless figure from the old stories, Jijuechin, who had only rank 3 innate power and an iron sword martial soul, yet still rose to title Douluo. That example fed his confidence. If an iron block could be forged into a divine weapon, so could his. Besides, he had twin martial souls. So from age 6, Qing began an obsessive forging of his iron block martial soul. Over and over he fused spiritual power, will, and soul power into it, subjecting it to 10,000 quenchings in his imagination. Each quenching felt like casting his soul into a furnace, agonizing but strengthening his body, spirit, and martial soul. After 6 years of inhuman torture, the rusty block transformed into a pitch-black long saber, radiating chilling intent. He named it Black Star Sinking Abyss. At 12, guided by the Eye of Fortune, he discovered a soaring red light of fortune in a coastal town, a black and red whale resin block in a general store corner, priced cheaply and treated as scrap. He bought it and broke it open, finding within a complete 100,000-year torso bone and 100,000-year whale resin essence. Those treasures changed his fate, improving his physique, expanding his meridians, and enabling him to absorb spirit rings beyond his rank. His first spirit ring came from a 3,000-year purple sun ginseng. From then on, he walked the path of absorbing spirit rings above the limit. He stayed low-key, using the Eye of Fortune to hunt opportunities while creating a superior cultivation method. The Douluo Continent's standard meditations were too primitive for someone with rank 3 innate power. Progress was painfully slow. After countless trials, at 18 he created the Star Meditation Scripture, a method that guided the star's power into his body to temper his physique and condense soul power far more efficiently than ordinary methods. This breakthrough, and the 100,000-year torso bone, originating from a star-horned demonic whale, a soul beast that absorbs star power, gave him a foundation to absorb high-level spirit rings. He advanced to Soul King that year, with a spirit ring configuration that shocked many: purple, purple, black, black, black. Because his first martial soul, Green Leaf, followed the life support system path, he hid his strength and developed cautiously. Later, integrating star power, he created soul skills such as the 4 forms of star shattering and the sunken abyss star extinguishing slash, skyrocketing his combat ability. With the Star Meditation Scripture and the Eye of Fortune, his cultivation advanced rapidly. At 28, he reached rank 90, becoming a quasi-titled Douluo. Yet he had high expectations for his 9th spirit ring. Ordinary 100,000-year rings wouldn't satisfy him. He sought a fierce beast exceeding 100,000 years. For 2 years, he searched perilous lands across the continent and finally found this plant-type beast deep within the Star Do Great Forest. Half an hour later, the 100,000-year right leg bone was fully absorbed. Qing's soul power had recovered to about 80%. He opened his eyes. A sharp light flashed and vanished. He stared at the blood-red, gold-patterned spirit ring and inhaled deeply. "The main event is next," he said. His first martial soul, Green Leaf, appeared at his command, a purple-gold, 9-pointed leaf emitting rich life energy. 8 spirit rings rose beneath his feet. Purple, purple, black, 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 red. Such a configuration exceeded any optimal ratio and would tremble the continent if revealed. Qing drew the spirit ring in with his soul power and used a spirit bone skill to tunnel underground, excavating a temporary cave, the safest place to absorb such overwhelming power. Let's begin. If he succeeded, he would truly stand among the strong of the Douluo Continent. He plunged into the absorption. Taking an ultra 100,000-year spirit ring was more painful and dangerous than any previous time. The energy slammed into his meridians and soul, each impact threatening to tear him apart. Qing held his spiritual platform firm, refined the energy with the Star Meditation Scripture, and endured with his reinforced physique and iron will. The absorption lasted 7 days and 7 nights. Deep underground, the bloody red spirit ring finally settled into his 9th spirit ring slot. Buzz! The moment the ring attached, his aura erupted. The purple flames into the sky deepened and mixed with strands of golden light. Qing's eyes flew open, sensing vast new power and a wholly different life level, and he laughed. Ha ha! After more than 20 years of hardship and countless trials, today I, Qing, have finally become a titled Douluo. His hearty laughter echoed in the cave. He recalled the pain of quenching the iron block, the danger of absorbing rings beyond his rank, exhausting research into martial soul evolution, sleepless nights crafting his cultivation method, and near-death hunts. Each step had been walking on thin ice. All the suffering paid off. He thought of Tang Hao from the original tales. The youngest titled Douluo there only broke through at 44. If he hadn't been searching for this perfect 9th ring, Yu Qing could have attempted his breakthrough at 28. The immense energy of this ultra-100,000-year ring pushed his soul power rank up to rank 94 after the breakthrough. Combined with his unprecedented spirit ring and spirit bone setup, his current combat power could crush most rank 95 Super Douluo. Yu Qing suppressed his laughter and let excitement settle. Practical concerns surfaced. All 9 spirit rings for his first martial soul, Green Leaf, were complete. But his second martial soul, Black Star Sinking Abyss, had none. After tasting a 100,000-year ring, ordinary 10,000-year rings were beneath his notice. He wanted at least 100,000-year rings for the sword, but such beasts were rare, hegemon-level existences difficult to find. Following known clues from the original stories might not yield 9 suitable rings for his second martial soul. Spirit rings also had to match the martial soul's attributes. Powerful, offensive, 100,000-year beasts compatible with Black Star Sinking Abyss, Titan Giant Ape, Evil Orca King, Dark Gold Dreadclaw Bear, Deep Sea Demonic Whale King were few. Peerless monsters like DTN were unthinkable. Even if he could kill one, its Silver Dragon King Protector would spark a continent-wide retaliation. Sigh, what a happy dilemma, Yu Qing said, rubbing his temples. He decided not to worry yet. He was only 30 and had plenty of time. If necessary, once stronger, he could seek a godhood inheritance trial. That thought brightened him. He rose, dusted himself off, and prepared to leave the cave. But as he took his first step, he froze, as if chilled by invisible ice. His face hardened, his eyes went vacant, and his consciousness was drawn away. At that moment, a cold, mechanical voice exploded inside his mind. Ding! Detecting host life level ascension, soul strength met requirements, fulfilling binding conditions. Invincible family system is currently binding. Ding! The invincible family system has been bound. Would you like to install it? Yu Qing barely had time to react before the mechanical voice spoke again. He was stunned. No way, buddy. I've been stuck on this barren continent for 30 years. And you show up now? The party's long over. He was complaining when an idea hit him. He had been worrying about where to find a spirit ring for his second martial soul, and now a system just showed up offering help. Install it. Install it now, he shouted without thinking. The invincible family system is installing. 1%, 2%, 3%. Yu Qing's mind started racing. The name Invincible Family System sounded like one of those farming or development systems, perfect for recruiting powerful people to join him. As a level 94 titled Douluo, if he raised his hand, wouldn't strong fighters flock to him? Building a family would be a breeze. This wasn't just a system, it was delivering a harem. No, delivering powerhouses to his doorstep. He couldn't help grinning as the progress bar climbed. 60%, 70%, 90%, 95%. Then the voice changed. The cold, mechanical tones softened into something panic-stricken and almost girlish. Wait. You don't seem to be my host? Sorry, I bound the wrong person. Yu Qing's eyelid twitched. You can bind the wrong person? He barked. So I got excited for nothing? He felt his anger flare. His soul power hummed. In the sea of consciousness, a girl in a pale blue dress blinked into being. She looked delicate, guilty, and nervous all at once. After staring at him for a moment, she wailed and stamped her foot. A semi-transparent error pop-up floated above her head. She swatted it away and muttered, I'm doomed, doomed, doomed. I messed up my first business trip. I'll be laughed at for 1,000 years when I get back. The installation progress immediately reset to 0. The girl spread her hand and a cluster of colored light tried to slip away. Yu Qing watched, incredulous, then exploded. Are you joking? System installation failed? You're here just to be a joke? You're useless except for causing trouble. You even bound the wrong host? Are you an intern system? No professionalism at all. The girl's face crumpled. She answered in a small, pitiful voice. I didn't do it on purpose. Your mental fluctuations are unusual. Yu Qing sneered. Still trying to blame me? I've been fine for 30 years. You pop up, give me hope, then pull the rug out. Don't act like you're innocent. Wah, stop scolding me. Her voice shrank, nearly ready to cry. This is my first binding. Making a small mistake. It's understandable. She glanced up at him and added weakly, Besides, you're not my real host, so why are you so fierce? Yu Qing wasn't satisfied. He narrowed his eyes. I'm filing a complaint. He condensed a thin blade of sharp soul power on his fingertip and aimed it at his spiritual form. Tell me, if I self-destruct, will that trigger one of your accident protocols? No, no, no. Don't do anything reckless. The system girl panicked and latched onto his arm, her cheeks flaming. If I get a complaint, I won't be able to get a dimensional rating upgrade for 1,000 years. Please don't. Yu Qing's face stayed calm, although he was inwardly amused. Then tell me, what compensation do you have? She hesitated, then hurriedly decided, besides rebinding, I can give you other compensation, like this. She snapped her fingers, and a golden sphere surrounded by a four-colored halo floated toward him. Yu Qing immediately felt an extraordinary aura. It was a supreme divine artifact-level opportunity. What is it? He asked. It's another system. I made it early on. I can give it to you as compensation. She glanced away, embarrassed. Yu Qing examined the sphere. What's it called? The Tao Companion System. Her cheeks flushed and her voice dropped. Yu Qing smirked. Your true form isn't a dragon, is it? Why the suggestive name? I am not, she bristled, puffing her cheeks. Listen to the function rundown. I'm leaving as soon as I'm done. She rattled off the functions quickly. The Tao Companion System has three main features. Tao Companion Function. If a partner's appearance, strength, and talent meet a certain standard, you can sign a Tao Companion contract and receive yin-yang points. Yin-yang points can be exchanged for system rewards. Joyful Dual Cultivation. Dual cultivation with a Tao Companion can raise cultivation levels, strengthen talent, and increase potential, at the cost of the host's own lifespan. Descendant System. If a Tao Companion becomes pregnant, your lifespan limit increases by 10 to 50 years, and you receive extra rewards. If the descendant's talent is exceptional, you might earn a descendant treasure chest. I've adjusted the rewards to fit Douluo Continent rules, she added. Rewards will appear as spirit rings, spirit bones, martial souls, and so on. I added a few extra features you can explore yourself. Yu Qing frowned. Are there godhood seat rewards? There are, she hurriedly nodded. If you collect enough Tao Companions, the system mall can refresh with a godhood seat. How many? Around 20? Yu Qing's mouth twitched. Is there a star-level requirement? They have to be at least 4-star Tao Companions. Yu Qing rubbed his forehead. Gathering 20 4-star Tao Companions in one lifetime? That's doubtful. Relax, she said, trying to cheer him up. If you have many high-level descendants, you also have a chance at a godhood seat reward. But that depends on luck. She seemed to remember something, and a soft white light slipped into Yu Qing's body. What is this? He asked. A small compensation, the Charm Halo. It helps you attract high-star Tao Companions. See, I'm generous, she giggled, evidently trying to butter him up. Yu Qing found her suddenly more likable. He cupped his hands. Thank you. Then, you won't complain about me anymore, right? She asked cautiously. I won't. You can go. Yay, then I'm leaving. Goodbye, may we never meet again. She sighed in relief, turned, and vanished from his sea of consciousness with a whoosh. Yu Qing shook his head and focused on the four-colored sphere merging into his glabella. A virtual screen unfolded in his mind. Age 30. First martial soul, gold-patterned purple leaf, spirit rings, purple, purple, black, 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 red, red. Second martial soul, black star sinking abyss, spirit rings. Realm level 94 titled Douluo. Lifespan 3450. Core cultivation method, star meditation scripture. Self-created secret method, star-burning battle method. Self-created soul skills, 4 forms of star shattering. Sunken abyss star extinguishing slash, star flash, star luo hand. Spirit bones, star horn demon whale torso bone, 200,000 years. Red cloud star vine emperor left arm bone, 100,000 years. Silver scale worm emperor left leg bone, 100,000 years. Azure gloom ancient tree right leg bone, 180,000 years. Tao Companion count. Yin-Yang points. Halos. Eye of Fortune. Charm Halo. 200,000 years? I always thought it was 100,000. He shook his head in disbelief. Who would have guessed that a merchant's whale glue from some coastal town hit a 200,000-year demon whale torso bone? He stopped dwelling and broke through the underground, heading for the outskirts of the Stardew Great Forest. 10 days later, on the forest's edge, in a bustling small town, Yu Qing, dusty and smelling faintly of blood and vegetation, pushed into a restaurant. He was starving. "Waiter," he called, finding a seat. "Bring me 2 servings of every meat dish you have." The waiter blinked at the disheveled man with sharp eyes, hesitated, then stammered, "Yes, sir." Qing flicked a finger and a gold spirit coin landed on the table with a ding. "Make this your tip. Hurry with the food." The waiter's face lit up and he scurried to the kitchen. Plates piled up, braised pork trotters, a basin-sized roasted chicken, a whole roasted lamb leg. 10 heavy dishes carried out, filling the room with a rich aroma. Qing grabbed a roasted chicken with one hand and tore into a lamb chop with the other, eating with abandon. After half a year surviving on dry rations and jerky in the Great Forest, this feast was heavenly. The restaurant door creaked open. 2 women entered. The one in front had purple hair, a tall, cold bearing. Behind her, a short-haired girl with lively eyes bounced along. Both looked to be around 20, and their soul power fluctuations made it clear they were soul kings. "We finally reached the Stardew Great Forest. Sis, can we find my 5th spirit ring after we eat?" the short-haired girl chirped. The purple-haired woman nodded and scanned the room, then settled at an empty table in the corner. Directly across from that table, opposite them, sat Qing, gnawing fiercely on his lamb leg. Chapter 3. First Encounter with Shrek Academy. Qing barely spared the 2 women a look before burying his face back into the fragrant roasted lamb. Through his eye of fortune, the purple-haired woman's fate glowed purple, but a thin veil of decay threaded through it, an omen of an early death. The short-haired girl's fate was a lighter purple, tinged with a dense gray-black that foretold a major life-or-death tribulation soon. "What a pity," Qing muttered between bites, tearing off a large chunk of meat. "Her talent is decent, but she won't last long. Still, this cumin is excellent." He had no intention of intervening. Purple fate meant limited potential. Breaking through to Soul Sage would be nearly impossible. It wasn't worth his time to become a Tao companion for someone who'd never go far, even though a system prompt had just flashed. High-quality Tao companion, recommended investment. Investment? Qing scoffed. "I'm not running a charity." He happily chewed on the lamb leg, his ravenous, unrestrained eating drawing the attention of the 2 women across the room. Their clothes were somewhat worn, and he ate like a man starved for days, holding a pig's trotter in one hand and tearing lamb with the other. Given that they were in the outer reaches of the Stardew Great Forest, a place crawling with hidden dangers, the women wondered if this disheveled eater might be an eccentric, high-level soul master. They watched him for a few moments longer, their own appetites whetted by the sight. "Sister Rui, I'm suddenly so hungry," the short-haired girl whispered, rubbing her stomach. "Me too," the purple-haired woman replied softly. "Let's order more food. Once we enter the forest, we'll be back to dry rations." She paused a beat, then decided, all right. They had just finished ordering more dishes when the restaurant door slammed open. A noisy group filed in. A burly, fierce-looking middle-aged man led them, radiating an oppressive aura, and 5 younger men trailed behind him, some burly, some ordinary, and one with a composed, refined look. "Teacher Zhao, we've been walking all day. Let's eat first and rest," a stout-faced youth complained. The others echoed him. The burly man, their teacher, nodded once and barked a command. "Eat quickly and go to bed early. Tomorrow, whoever wakes late and delays the spirit hunt will regret it." He then went upstairs by himself. The 5 students, relieved, grabbed seats, right across from the 2 women. The moment they sat, their eyes fixed on the 2 exceptionally beautiful, well-shaped women. "Senior brother Qin Ming, look, these 2 they're way prettier than any girls from our village," the stout youth said, elbowing the composed, handsome Qin Ming. "That figure, incredible," another muttered, swallowing audibly. The remaining 2 grew bolder, trading crude remarks and even suggesting who would go first. Qin Ming's face fell. "All of you, focus. This isn't the academy. Don't provoke a powerful soul master. You'll regret it." The stout youth waved him off. "What's there to be afraid of with Teacher Zhao here? Didn't the dean say a soul master who doesn't cause trouble isn't a real soul master?" Qin Ming's frown deepened. Was that really how the dean's words should be used? The growing lewdness on the other side of the table darkened the 2 women's faces. The short-haired girl finally snapped. She grabbed a newly served dish and hurled it at the 5 men. "How dare you?" she shouted, and 4 spirit rings, yellow, purple, purple, burst beneath her feet. Infernal dragon flames roared forth, accompanied by the phantom of an infernal dragon charging at the 5 students. Qing glanced up, mildly interested. Nice martial soul quality and spirit ring mix. Quasi-soul king at her age. Talent like that should be impossible for a light purple fate. The 5 students panicked. A soul ancestor. Qin Ming stepped forward. Teacher Li Aisong said, "The dean says not daring to cause trouble is mediocrity." The stout youth sneered, unleashing his martial soul. 4th soul skill, explosive giant strength. Little girl, don't think we're scared of you just because you're a soul ancestor. Once we take you down, you'll be ours. Qin Ming inwardly groaned at their ignorance. The girl's martial soul and level were unusual. She must have backing. Still, he wanted to end this fast and apologize later to avoid creating enemies. Tables and chairs shattered as soul skills flew wildly. Though powerful, the short-haired girl found herself outnumbered. Just as she was about to be overwhelmed, the purple-haired woman finally acted. Countless purple vines snaked out, coiling around the 5 men like poisonous serpents. The black light of her 5th spirit ring flared. 5th soul skill, Starlock Imprisonment. A Soul King, the Shrek Academy youths cried out. A crushing pressure of soul power fell. The towering teacher Zhao, who had somehow appeared in front of the 5 students, simply waved his hand. The surge of soul power smashed the girl's dragon flames, causing them to backfire and severely wound her. "Little sister," the purple-haired woman screamed, rushing to catch her companion as she was blasted across the room. Her martial soul was shattered and her aura grew faint. Fury distorted her features. "If your skills are inferior, you deserve to die." Indestructible Vajra said coldly, "You deserve to die." The purple-haired woman, desperate as she pumped soul power into her comrade, glared up. "You provoked us first. Who are you? State your name and academy." Indestructible Vajra ignored her. The proud youth behind him, unable to keep silent, lifted his chin and shouted, "Listen up! Our teacher is Indestructible Vajra Zhao Wuji." Indestructible Vajra slapped the talkative boy. "Shut up! You blabber too much." The purple-haired woman's pupils contracted. Indestructible Vajra Zhao Wuji, infamous and ruthless, wanted by the Spirit Hall, stood before them. They didn't stand a chance. "Now that you know my name, I can't let you live." A killing light flashed in Indestructible Vajra's eyes as 7 spirit rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 rose at his feet. His 5th ring flared, and a terrifying gravitational force crushed down on the 2 women. Facing a soul sage's full power, they couldn't resist. They were flattened to the floor, barely able to breathe. The short-haired girl lay critically injured, drifting toward death. Qing had watched the whole spectacle, confirming the identities of the 6 attackers. "So it's Shrek Academy. No wonder these 2 would die young," he said under his breath. He set the lamb leg down, wiped his hands, and smiled. "Perfect. Let's see how their fortunes change if they survive." Before his words faded, he flicked a finger. The lamb bone he'd been gnawing instantly condensed into a meteor of terrifying soul power and slammed into Indestructible Vajra's protective barrier, shattering it and knocking him back 3 steps. "Who?" Indestructible Vajra stared in shock. The shabby-looking man from the corner, who had been lost in his meal, stood up slowly and walked over without hurry. In Qing's hand, 2 purple leaves, humming with a gentle life aura, appeared. He sent them carelessly toward the 2 women. The leaves slipped into their mouths, and a miracle followed. The short-haired girl's grievous wounds closed rapidly. Her shattered martial soul began to mend. The purple-haired woman's injuries healed, and her soul power surged back more than halfway. The 2 women looked up at the seemingly disordered but inscrutable man in stunned gratitude. Qing smiled faintly and let his gaze fall on the ashen-faced Indestructible Vajra. "For auspiciousness tinged with red on black. Thank you." The purple-haired woman felt it first. Not only were her wounds gone, but her soul power had subtly increased. She scrambled to her feet and bowed to Qing, her normally cold, guarded eyes now soft with astonishment and gratitude. The short-haired girl beside her also stood with a soft rush, fingers trembling at her chest and abdomen in disbelief. Her shattered martial soul and mangled body had been completely restored, her soul power abundant, her condition even better than before. Qing waved his hand casually. though his gaze remained locked on the ashen-faced, indestructible Vajra. Arms crossed, he sneered. Quite arrogant, aren't you, indestructible Vajra? He had heard the name. 2 years ago, this man had broken through an encirclement of Spirit Hall's soul emperors and soul kings and barely escaped with his life. Qing hadn't expected him to have already advanced to Soul Sage. According to the original timeline, the man should still have been a soul emperor around now. The timeline must have shifted, Qing thought idly. Having his name spoken aloud, indestructible Vajra narrowed his eyes. Alarm bells rang in his chest. Those two leaves had been too strange. He had been ready to kill the pair moments ago. The women were badly injured, and it should take at least a healing-class soul Douluo to restore them instantly. Yet the stranger had produced two leaves casually. "Who are you?" Indestructible Vajra asked, cautious. A trace of respect crept into his tone. He had to be careful. Anyone who could casually produce that level of life-saving spiritual medicine had deep soul power, especially since he felt no soul power fluctuation from the man at all. Guess. Qing's expression was indifferent, his eyes treating indestructible Vajra like a clown. Trying to play mind games with me? When I was exiled by my clan and hunting soul beasts out in the wastes, you were probably still playing in the mud. He sneered inwardly. "Aren't you going to respect me, indestructible Vajra?" the older man barked, trying to hide his nerves with volume. With his temper, he would have attacked long ago if he weren't afraid. "Oh? Why should I?" Qing smiled. "Because you're wanted by Spirit Hall? Hardly something to boast about." He suddenly pointed at the burly youth beside indestructible Vajra. "And you, arrogant, self-important, causing trouble wherever you go, showing no reverence for the strong. Riding on a bit of talent and the protection of your teachers and elders, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're trash." Perhaps from the confidence of having recently risen to titled Douluo and seeing through the youth's purple fortune that likely spelled an early death, Qing switched to taunt mode without ceremony. "Thinking you're better than everyone just because you have talent? You deserve a beating." The burly youth had never been humiliated like this. Rage split his face. Throwing caution to the wind, he activated his spirit rings and lunged at Qing with a shout. But, smack! Qing hardly seemed to move. A backhand, executed in a blur, sent the youth flying dozens of meters until he crashed into the restaurant wall. Before he could even slide down, Qing flickered in front of him again and delivered another strike from the opposite side that slammed him back like a rag doll. "A rookie soul ancestor. This is the capital of your arrogance?" Qing said, as if brushing something dirty off his hand. "You don't even deserve me using soul power." The youth lay there, cheeks swollen, looking like he'd been turned inside out. He whimpered, eyes wide with terror and disbelief. Indestructible Vajra's face drained of color, shocked by the speed and strength he could scarcely see, and furious that his student had been beaten right in front of him. "You said, if your skill is inferior, you deserve to die, didn't you?" Qing finally turned his gaze back to indestructible Vajra and slowly opened his right hand. A purple leaf, traced with gold patterns and glowing with rich life energy, formed in his palm. Though it looked like a common martial soul artifact, the moment it appeared, a deep unease shot through indestructible Vajra. Beneath Qing's feet, 9 spirit rings ascended one by one. Brilliant light filled the restaurant. The terrifying aura stole everybody's breath. Purple, purple, black, 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 red, red. Those 3 blood-red rings radiated a suffocating pressure, bathing the room in a cold, bloody glow. 9 rings, a titled Douluo, and such an abnormal ring configuration: 2 purple rings, 4 10,000-year black rings, and the final 3 legendary 100,000-year red rings. Indestructible Vajra's pupils pinched shut as a chill ran through his bones. Had the world gone mad? Ding! Detected that the host actively displayed strength and created a powerful image, conforming to the Charm Halo application criteria. The awe and curiosity of the opposite sex present toward the host have significantly increased. "Oh, there's an effect like this too?" Qing's heart stirred, but his voice overpowered the room. Calm and crushing, he announced, "My name is Qing, level 94, titled Douluo, title Leaf Emperor. Please accept my greetings." Indestructible Vajra went pale. He finally understood what kind of giant he'd kicked. "Are you ready?" Yu Qing asked with a faint smile that looked more terrifying than a god of death. Indestructible Vajra forced down his fear, bowed his head, and spoke with exaggerated humility. Your Excellency, Indestructible Vajra is willing to face death and accept any punishment. I only beg you to spare these ignorant students of Shrek. Yu Qing raised an eyebrow at the man's loyalty. Relax. I never planned to kill you. Relief flooded Indestructible Vajra. No death. Wonderful. He stammered his thanks. I thank your Excellency for your mercy. Internally, of course, he was howling. What rotten luck I've had. He didn't get to finish the thought before a mountain-crushing force slammed into his chest. Bang! He didn't see the strike. His body flew backward as if hit by a primeval beast. Bones cracked, organs ruptured, and he spewed blood and fragments of tissue as his vision blurred. I'm going to die, he thought. It was his last sensation before consciousness slipped away. Then a vast, pure life energy flooded his broken body, yanking him back from the brink. Yu Qing had appeared beside him and forced a purple leaf into his mouth. His wounds sealed instantly, old injuries knitting shut too. Before Indestructible Vajra could make sense of being saved, a crushing kick struck his abdomen from below. Oh, whoa! He screamed and shot up like a cannonball, soaring hundreds of meters. Yu Qing moved through the air and caught him mid-fall, catching the dizzy, half-unconscious man and stuffing another purple leaf into his mouth. Indestructible Vajra blinked, and seeing Yu Qing's face close and playfully smiling, managed a trembling, ugly grin. Your Excellency, just give me a quick death. The agony of repeatedly dying and being pulled back was worse than any death. All right, I'll indulge you, Yu Qing said, and flung his ankle up like a chain ball. Indestructible Vajra shot skyward again. Yu Qing flashed above him and hammered a punch into his chest. Indestructible Vajra's eyes bulged, his chest caved, and blood arced through the air as he plummeted like a meteor. At the last instant, Yu Qing steadied him with precise soul power, slowed the impact, and caught him casually. Another purple leaf went into his mouth. He healed again. This time Yu Qing left 2 ribs improperly set, a deliberate, minor warning. All done. Yu Qing clapped, as relaxed as if he'd only been stretching. Indestructible Vajra stared at him, trembling. 3 blows, 3 near-death experiences, 3 resurrections. The torment of repeatedly crossing the gates of death had carved deep grooves of fear into his heart. See, can I take my students and leave now? He croaked. Suit yourself. Yu Qing waved him off and turned toward the burly youth, still paralyzed on the ground. The youth scrambled back on hands and knees, terror-stricken. Trash, Yu Qing said coldly. On the Douluo Continent, the strong are respected, an iron rule. Before you grow up, no matter how much talent you boast of, it means nothing. You, who still rely on others, remember today's lesson. Maybe it'll help you live a little longer. He ignored Indestructible Vajra after that and walked to the 2 women, who remained leaning on each other, eyes full of a nervous, worshipful light. Their fortunes had changed, transformed into a black deepened with red, like a phoenix reborn. Ding! Detected high-quality potential Tao companions, 2 individuals. Their talent and destiny have undergone a beneficial transformation following the host's intervention. A fine harvest, Yu Qing thought. He approached them slowly. His tall form brought a quiet pressure, but his face wore an easy smile. What are your names? 5. Duanxin and Zi Rui. Facing Yu Qing's question, the 2 women, still shaken, snapped back to attention and straightened instinctively. Reporting, Your Excellency. I am Duanxin. The short-haired girl spoke first, her voice trembling with nerves. This concubine is Zi Rui, the purple-haired woman added, respectful. Before a titled Douluo with 300,000-year spirit rings, their relief mixed with excitement and reverence. Relax, Yu Qing said softly. I'm actually easy to talk to. I saw you 2 being bullied and just gave you a hand. Ding, approachable image successfully created. Duanxin Rui's favorability 5. Oh, just a casual comment could raise favorability? The charm halo really was something. Yu Qing smiled inwardly. Thank you, Your Excellency, for saving our lives. Duanxin said earnestly. I can never repay this. If you ever command, Duanxin will never refuse. Your Excellency, you gave us life and helped enhance our soul power. I will never forget this kindness, Zi Rui said, exchanging a meaningful look with Duanxin. We wish to follow Your Excellency. Please grant our request. They spoke together, voices steady. Yu Qing felt a flicker of surprise. He had been wondering how to recruit them, and now they volunteered themselves? He looked at them, mildly perplexed. Follow me? The two women bit their lips. Zirui explained, Your Excellency has given us a new life. You are a titled Douluo with unmatched strength. We want to grow stronger, to control our destinies, and never be at the mercy of others like today. Me too, Duanxin nodded fiercely, eyes burning. I want to get stronger. A noble ambition, Yu Qing murmured, touched by their determination. Tell me about your backgrounds, your innate soul power, and your martial souls. I'm from the Duan family of Icefall City. Duanxin replied at once. Innate soul power rank 7. My martial soul is the Crimson Flame Dragon Lizard. My family is similar, Zirui said. Innate soul power rank 7 as well. My martial soul is the Purple Cloud Vine. Yu Qing listened. Minor families, both reaching Soul Sect and Soul King potentials at their age with rank 7 innate powers, showed diligence. And your goals? He asked. To become strong and to revive our families, they answered in unison, the same fire in their eyes. A classic goal. Desire bred motivation. Good. On the way to find an inn, Yu Qing asked casually, What do you intend to do about that indestructible Vajra? Humph, of course we want revenge, Duanxin snapped. We were nearly beaten to death for no reason. We can't let that go. We women don't forget easily, Zirui agreed coldly. Yu Qing raised an eyebrow and deliberately cooled them down. Revenge? With innate soul power rank 7, when will you even reach Soul Sage? Indestructible Vajra is much more talented than you. His words were a needle through the courage they'd just rallied. Both faltered. Duanxin scratched her head, unwilling to give up hope, and asked, Your Excellency, we've decided to follow you. Do you have a way to speed up our cultivation? She asked shyly. Zirui's eyes lit with curiosity and longing. Ding detected strong demand from potential Dao companions to become stronger quickly. Suggests host to display capital at an opportune moment to deepen the binding relationship. Yu Qing smiled inwardly and put on a thoughtful facade. After a moment, he said, as if reluctant, There is a method. It's just a bit special and might not be very suitable for you. What method? Their curiosity spiked. He gave them an odd smile. We'll talk after we find lodging. It's rather particular. He left it vague, letting their imaginations run. Their cheeks flushed and conjectures crowded their minds. They checked into a decent inn. Yu Qing took 2 rooms, but the girls trailed him like shadows. He opened his door and turned, half smiling. Are you sure you want to come into this room? Only then did they realize. Faces crimson, they stammered. No, we'll go back to our room, and almost fled next door. Yu Qing watched their flustered retreat and allowed himself a private smirk. He soaked in a steaming bathtub, letting months of fatigue from the Stardew Great Forest wash away. Afterward, he pulled an ancient storage bracelet from nearby, channeled spiritual power into it, and withdrew 2-leg spirit bones that glowed faintly with astonishing energy. 1 left, 1 right, a perfect match. Top-grade spirit bones, each 80,000 years old. Ding! Detected hosts 80,000-year left and right leg bones. This item has a significant effect on increasing the target's favorability and can be used as a high-quality investment item. 80,000-year spirit bones could start fights among titled Douluo if displayed openly. Yu Qing ran his fingers over their cool, smooth surfaces. If he intended to take them as Dao companions, some betrothal gifts were in order. He shaved off his beard in front of the mirror. As the stubble fell away, a striking face emerged. Sword-like brows, bright eyes, a high nose, a healthy complexion earned through years of cultivation. He grinned at his reflection. Tch, I'm really handsome. He had always been satisfied with his looks. In later travels, they had caused him trouble, forcing him to hide his charm. Now, a titled Douluo, he could be confident again. He changed into a tailored black slim-fit robe that emphasized his tall, lean, broad-shouldered build. Feeling refreshed, he opened the door, only to find Duanxin and Zirui frozen with their hands raised to knock. Their mouths hung open, eyes fixed on his renewed appearance. Their astonishment made Yu Qing's ego swell. The charm halo's effect and his looks together were working wonders. He waved a hand in front of them and said, trying to suppress a smile, "Are you looking for me?" They blinked, came back to themselves, and went bright red. Oh no, They had behaved like lovesick fools in front of their benefactor and been caught. Mortified, they stammered, "Nothing, nothing at all," and followed him in like sheep. Yu Qing stepped aside. "Come in." They obediently entered and sat nervously on the edge of the sofa, hands twisting at the hems of their clothes. He patted the seat and told them not to be so formal. When they still hovered, he decided to get to the point. He leaned forward, eyes sweeping their flushed faces, his voice lowering slightly. "The method I mentioned to accelerate cultivation does exist." Their faces brightened with hope. He paused, choosing his words. "It's not an ordinary cultivation technique or medicine. It's a dual cultivation method, between a man and a woman." He let the implication hang there, then added in a quieter, firmer tone, "This method is profound. It's also the foundation for me to build a family and clan in the future, and to cultivate close confidants. Only my wives may practice it." Chapter 6. First time practicing dual cultivation. When Yu Qing said those words, he immediately wanted to dig a hole and bury himself in it. Having lived 2 lives and spent 30 years obsessively cultivating after transmigrating, he had almost no experience of deep interaction with women. And now his first attempt at intimacy was to mention male-female dual cultivation. It was like a rookie in the newbie village walking straight into the final boss room. His toes curled involuntarily. Help! This was more nerve-wracking than absorbing a spirit ring way above his level. System, what kind of misleading tutorial did you give me? Male-female dual cultivation. The 2 women looked genuinely puzzled. Your Eminence, what is male-female dual cultivation? Zirui blinked and asked earnestly. Well. Yu Qing stroked his chin, deliberately stalling, his eyes darting away. It's when a man and a woman, achieve the great harmony of life by blending their yin and yang energies with each other. The goal is to rapidly increase cultivation. As he explained, an almost imperceptible blush crept up his handsome face. A bachelor for 2 lifetimes, seriously explaining dual cultivation now, this felt like public humiliation. The great harmony of life? The 2 women stared at each other, confused, and then something clicked. Their eyes widened, and color rushed up their cheeks almost visibly to their earlobes. It's exactly what you're thinking. Yu Qing braced himself and continued. The method of dual cultivation requires the complete physical and mental fusion of a man and a woman, and absolute trust. That's why I said it can only be used by those who become my closest companions. He chose the more euphemistic phrase on purpose. Closest companions. Their faces burned red, but when they looked at Yu Qing's exceptionally handsome face and his deep, star-bright eyes, the embarrassment didn't turn to revulsion. Instead, something else stirred. Ding! Charm Halo continues to be effective. The target's subconscious acceptance of the host's proposal has greatly increased. Zirui took a slow breath, forcing calm into her voice. Your Eminence, can this method truly accelerate cultivation so quickly? Are there any side effects or hidden dangers? Yu Qing narrowed his eyes and put on a thoughtful expression, buying time to sound authoritative. Absolutely no side effects. This method aligns with the great Tao of heaven and earth's yin and yang. Not only can it rapidly accelerate cultivation and increase soul power, but with long-term practice it can even subtly improve martial soul quality and enhance innate soul power. That half-truth, half-bluff had the exact effect he'd hoped for. Their eyes lit up. Accelerate cultivation, improve martial soul quality, enhance talent. For 2 women who thirsted to become stronger, this was irresistible temptation. Then, why don't the 3 of us try? Duanxin blurted out bluntly, surprising Yu Qing so much he almost choked. My heavens, are the girls on Douluo Continent always this bold? So direct? Yu Qing's stunned expression seemed to dissolve Zirui's last reserves. She had worried he might be a lecher, but seeing him now, more flustered than she was, he didn't seem like a practiced playboy. He even looked a little endearing. Yu Qing forced himself to steady his breath and cleared his throat. Are you truly sure? Once it begins, there's no turning back. Duanxin looked embarrassed at her own boldness. She wished she could hide her face. Zirui pressed her hands on her knees, fingertips paling from the grip. She hesitated once, twice, then met Yu Qing's eyes with a steady look. If it is truly as your Eminence says, such miraculous effects without unbearable cost, then we are willing to try. Duanxin nodded quickly beside her, voice barely a whisper. They agreed. Yu Qing whooped silently inside. Charm Halo was terrifyingly effective. He swallowed his excitement and kept the calm, otherworldly demeanor of an expert. Since your minds are made up, I will say no more. He waved his hand, and the system responded. 2 illusory scrolls condensed from soft golden light floated into being before the women. On each scroll, 2 yin-yang fish, one black, one white, swam in perfect balance, giving off a profound, sacred aura. This is, the women stared at the unfamiliar sight. A divine contract, Yu Qing explained. It's linked to my dual cultivation method. You will prick a fingertip and let a drop of essence blood fall onto it to formalize the contract. Only then can dual cultivation draw on yin-yang power to nourish soul power and temper martial souls. This was the core of the Tao Companion system, the Tao Companion contract. The females had to sign willingly to unlock everything that followed. Feeling strange but gentle energy flowing from the scrolls, all doubt left the 2 women's hearts. Shall we? They exchanged a glance, then firmed their resolve together. We'll sign. Zirui was the first to cut her fingertip and let a drop of crimson fall onto the golden scroll. Duanshin followed immediately. The moment their blood touched the scrolls, the yin-yang fish quickened, converged, and fused into a perfectly rotating Taiji diagram. A flash of golden light, and the scrolls dissolved into specks that merged into their bodies. A pleasant system chime sounded in Yu Qing's mind. Ding! Congratulations, host, for successfully signing a contract with the 4-star Dao companion Zirui. Reward: first encounter treasure chest X1, yin-yang points 500. Ding! Congratulations, host, for successfully signing a contract with the 4-star Dao companion. Reward: Dao companion treasure chest X1, yin-yang. Dao Companion module activated. You can view detailed Dao Companion information at any time. Yu Qing closed his eyes to check their panels. 24. Martial Soul, Purple Clavine, Soul Power Level, Level 53 Soul King. Spirit Rings, Yellow, 3 yellow, Yellow 608, Purple, 156, Purple, 42114. Black, Appearance, 88, Cool and Intellectual, Quite Charming, Innate Soul Power, Level 7. Overall Star Rating, Affection 60, Trust and Expectation. Dao Companion, Age 21, Martial Soul, Crimson Flame Dragon Lizard. Soul Power Level, Level 50 Soul Sect. Spirit Rings, Yellow 380, Yellow 637, Purple 678, Purple 4 Forks. Appearance, 86, Lively and Pretty, Full of Vitality. Innate Soul Power. Overall Star Rating, Affection 60, Gratitude and Adoration slightly shy. 2 4-star Dao companions, and their starting affection was already above friends. Yu Qing grinned inwardly. How do you feel? He asked, opening his eyes and smiling at them. Very wonderful, Zirui murmured. It's as if my soul has been cleansed, my whole body warms, and my soul power flows so much more smoothly. Duanshin gave a soft, involuntary moan, then quickly covered her mouth, cheeks tinged with daze and shyness. Such a good feeling. Holy crap. Signing a contract produced this kind of reaction? Is this system a little too suggestive? They recovered quickly from the immersive sensation. Both clearly felt their soul power had become livelier and more condensed than before, and their trust in this mysterious, powerful figure grew deeper. Oh, right, Yu Qing said. Since you 2 have already signed a contract with me, consider this my betrothal gift. He waved his hand again. 2-legged spirit bones shimmered into being, suspended in the air and radiating strong energy fluctuations. Duanshin and Zirui's eyes locked on them, breath caught in their throats. The bones gleamed with deep luster. Their aura declared their extraordinary nature. These weren't ordinary spirit bones. 10,000-year spirit bones at the very least. 10,000-year spirit bones? Their voices trembled, disbelief turning to intense excitement. Yu Qing kept his tone casual, as if offering candy. I don't have much else, but I do have a large reserve of spirit bones. These 2 80,000-year spirit bones happen to match your attributes. I hope you like them. 80,000 years? The women's minds blanked for a moment. Not just 10,000-year, but top-grade 80,000-year spirit bones? Treasures. Titled Douluo would fight over, handed out casually as a betrothal gift? Really? Are they for us? Duanshin stammered, overcome. Yu Qing smiled and nodded. Immediately system chimes rang. Ding. Target Zirui affection plus 20, current affection 80, adoration and dependence. Ding. Target Duanshin 20, current affection 80, extreme adoration and love. Affection skyrocketed. At over 80 points, betrayal was nearly impossible. Duanshin reacted instantly, stepping forward to take the right leg bone that pulsed with fiery aura and faint dragon-shaped patterns. This fire attribute dragon-type spirit bone is perfect for me. Thank you, husband. She hugged his arm, voice bright with delight. Zirui accepted the other, its dark light and shadow flowing like ink. She bowed gracefully. Thank you for your generous gift, husband. This concubine is deeply grateful. Watching them accept the bones, Qing dropped another bombshell. If you treat me sincerely, in the future I can plan even more. Spirit rings of 100,000 years, perhaps. 100,000-year spirit rings? The words shattered any remaining modesty the two had left. Duanshin threw herself into his arms, eyes sparkling. Husband. Husband, Zirui echoed, leaning closer, tenderness and devotion in her gaze. This concubine will rely entirely on husband from now on. Betrayal was impossible. With such a powerful, handsome, and generous husband who could provide top-tier resources, clinging to him was the most natural thing in the world. In that quiet night outside the Stardew Great Forest, Comrade Qing, by his own efforts and the system's miraculous help, finally ended his 2-lifetime virginity. Ding! Detected that the host and Tao companion, Duanshin, have completed their first great harmony of life. Reward, Yin-Yang points plus 1,000. Host soul power slightly increased. Tao companion Duanshin soul power increased by 1 level. Trace Yin-Yang power. Ding! Detected that the host and Tao companion Zirui have completed their first great harmony of life. Reward, Yin-Yang points plus 800. Host soul power slightly increased. Tao companion Zirui soul power increased by 1 level, accumulating. Ding! Lifespan dies 2 years. Current lifespan 448 years. Friendly reminder. While dual cultivation is beneficial, please exercise moderation and continue diligent cultivation for sustainable development. That last sentence was definitely intentional, wasn't it? Broken system? 7. Synthesizer. Synthesizer. 500 yin-yang points. 500 yin-yang points. The system notifications poured across the screen like a waterfall. Qing let his eyes linger on the 2 women curled in his arms, asleep with satisfied, peaceful faces. A small swell of pride wandered through him. 10 times a night, guy? That's their limit, not mine, he thought with an amused curl to his mouth. The dual cultivation system's effects were indisputably immediate. His kidneys would complain, but the results were real. Fortunately, he was a life-type titled Douluo, a life support soul master, whose spirit rings had always favored life, recovery, enhancement, and burst. Maybe the power of 2 lifetimes' worth of emotion contributed too. He'd never expected those traits to have such pleasant side effects in certain situations. He peered down at the 2 sleeping women. 4-star Tao companions lived up to their reputation. Duanshin and Zirui were not astonishing beauties, but each had her own charm. Duanshin's features were striking in a heroic way, a vibrant kind of handsomeness. Her skin was a healthy bronze, firm and smooth, every touch promising latent power. Zirui's face was soft and gentle, with a tender expression between her brows. Her skin was supple and plump in a way that begged to be touched. No wonder people in his previous life said that once you taste the marrow, you crave more. The difference between having meat and not having it was colossal. He let himself savor the memory of last night and then suppressed the afterglow with practiced self-control. Time to count his spoils. 10 sessions of cultivation had pushed his soul power up by almost half a level. He was now only 1 step from breaking through the rank 95 Super Douluo threshold. As expected, the benefits of dual cultivation had diminishing returns. The first time produced the biggest gain. Subsequent sessions were less significant. Aside from the increase in soul power, he felt a unique harmonious energy flowing through him, yin and yang qi braided together. This had to be the yin-yang power the system had mentioned, useful to raise soul power, temper martial soul quality, enhance talent, and even increase the age limit for spirit rings. Most importantly, there were the yin-yang points. 10 sessions of dual cultivation had pushed his balance over the 10,000 mark. The two women alone provided a huge daily contribution. The cost, of course, was lifespan. Each dual cultivation session consumed 2 years of life. But the system mall made it a non-issue. 10 yin-yang points could be exchanged for 1 year of lifespan, so with his current balance, he could easily buy back the years he'd spent. In short, the lifespan cost was negligible for him, practically a perpetual motion machine. Compared to the improvements his companions had gained, his own felt modest. Duan Xin, stuck at the rank 50 bottleneck and without her 5th spirit ring, hadn't shown a dramatic jump yet. Zirui, however, had improved astonishingly. Her soul power had shot from rank 53 to rank 57 in a single night. If she hadn't finally passed out from exhaustion, she'd have begged to continue. One of the Tao companion rules was simple. Dual cultivation was mutually beneficial, but the side with lower cultivation gained the most. Who on the continent had cultivation higher than his? Maybe only the sea god Douluo, Bo-Saixi. The idea of flirting with that ancient powerhouse made his mouth twitch. Better to be realistic and keep searching for female soul masters with black luck auras. For now, complacency would do. Qing gathered himself and withdrew his consciousness into his sea of spiritual power. He opened the 2 treasure chests in his system backpack, the primal treasure chest, glowing with tempting golden light, and the more plain Black Tao companion treasure chest. He rubbed his hands and, half in jest, half in prayer, opened the black chest first. Ding! Opened 4-star Tao companion treasure chest. Congratulations, host. You have obtained Water Moon Lotus Seeds X1 bag. Advanced Martial Soul, Ice Jade Mantis, can be granted. Secret Technique Blood Burning Meditation Method. Life Extension Pill X1 bottle, 8 pills. He blinked. He knew the Water Moon Lotus well. It was the soul beast source for his 4th spirit ring. Its soul skill restored spiritual power and stamina, and its first consumption could permanently and noticeably boost those attributes. He'd also heard of the Ice Jade Mantis, a powerful soul beast from the frozen forest in the extreme north, comparable to the man-faced demon spider. Its martial soul had never appeared among human soul masters before. The other 2 items were rarer. The blood-burning meditation method accelerated soul power cultivation by burning vital energy in blood and slightly enhanced physique, greatly effective before the soul sage realm, but marginal afterward. The side effects were serious if overused, depletion of vital energy, or even blood flow reversal. Qing almost laughed. His first soul skill, Vibrant Purple Sun Leaf, could instantly restore his status. His 5th, Endless Blue Silver Leaf, could even resurrect. With his martial soul true body activated and his life domain in place, dying from depleted vitals was extremely unlikely. This technique is practically tailor-made for Shiner and Rui, he said, pleased, and set the manual aside with a plan to teach them. Then he examined the bottle of life extension pills. The label read, limited to 1 pill per person, each can increase lifespan by up to 1 jiazi, 60 years. He couldn't resist. He poured out a single jade-white pill, the size of a longan, and swallowed it. Warmth spread through his limbs and bones like a gentle current. His lifespan cap immediately jumped from 450 years to 510 years. Incredible. But each person could only take 1 pill. 7 pills remained. I'll save 1 for Shiner and 1 for Rui, he thought, imagining how grateful they'd be. Finally, he turned to the primal treasure chest and opened it. The golden light faded to reveal not a jeweled artifact, but a strange, almost human-sized machine. It was black, edged with gilded filigree, with a large display on the front and a bottomless circular aperture beneath it. That's it! Qing felt a flicker of disappointment. Had he used up his luck when absorbing that ultra-100,000-year spirit ring? But he forced himself to read the machine's information. 5 words that made his breath catch. The description did even more. It could synthesize myriad things: spirit rings, spirit bones, martial souls, immortal herbs, pills, godhood seats, and could greatly enhance an item's quality, age limit, and effect. On a lucky day, it could even produce million-year spirit rings and spirit bones, god-level martial souls, ultimate immortal herbs, and god-king-level godhood seats. Qing nearly shouted. A divine artifact, true divine-level gear. Of course it came with a price. Synthesis consumed yin-yang points, and the higher the quality, the more terrifying the cost. He skimmed the cost table. 1,000-year spirit ring spirit bone, 500 to 5,000 points. 10,000-year spirit ring spirit bone, 6,000 to 20,000 points. 100,000-year spirit ring spirit bone, 25,000 to 100,000 points. Fierce beast spirit ring spirit bone, 200,000 800,000 points. Million-year spirit ring spirit bone, 1,000,000 points. Low-level martial soul, 100 to 999 points. Mid-level martial soul, 1,000 9,999 points. Advanced martial soul, 10,000 99,999 points. Top-tier martial soul, ultimate martial soul, 100,000 to 999,999 points. God-level martial soul, 1,000,000 points. Third-rank godhood seat, 1,000 3,000 points. Note, the higher the points consumed, the better the quality of the synthesized item. The string of zeros after third-rank godhood seat made his chest ache. How long would it take to farm enough yin-yang points to synthesize even the lowest godhood seat? He imagined decades of dual cultivation and winced. Then he ran some quick math. Dao companions provided fixed yin-yang points every day. Zirui, as a 4-star Dao companion, had a base of 400 points daily. As a Soul King, she added 300 points, and with a favorability of 80, she granted an 80% bonus. So, 400 plus 300, Tau 0.8, 560 more. In total, Zirui could provide 1,260 yin-yang points a day. Duan Xin could supply roughly 1,100 points daily. Together, even without lifting a finger, they produced over 2,400 yin-yang points per day. Yu Qing said to himself, rubbing his chin. That made the road to synthesizing world-class treasures less impossible. It would still be a lot of dual cultivation and a heavy toll on his kidneys, but for the sake of becoming a god, it was worth it. He glanced at the two sleeping forms beside him. His expression softened and grew resolute, filled with warmth and a renewed vigor. Chapter 8. Yin and Yang Power. Yu Qing quickly withdrew his awareness from the system space, refusing to dwell on the astronomical number of yin-yang points still required. Why worry about that now? He'd cross that bridge when he came to it. For now, enjoy the present. He opened his eyes, gently disentangled the two women who had been sleeping in his arms, rose, sat cross-legged, calmed his mind, and began to refine the vigorous, harmonious yin-yang power circulating in his body. As the energy was guided and absorbed, he clearly perceived three mysterious interfaces appear within him, corresponding to soul power, spirit ring, and martial soul. With a thought, he could channel the new power into any of them to produce enhancements. Without hesitation, Yu Qing chose to raise the quality of his martial soul. His martial soul's starting point had been too low. Even after evolving from green leaf to the current golden-veined purple leaf, it still lagged far behind true top-tier martial souls. He remembered a friendly exchange with a soul master from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Back then, the opponent had already reached Soul Sage and possessed a 100,000-year spirit ring. Even so, if Yu Qing didn't activate his martial soul true body, his martial soul was subtly suppressed by the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda. The same problem occurred against the 9-Heart Begonia. It wasn't about auxiliary abilities. It was about the inherent quality of the martial soul. No matter how strong the extras, an inadequate foundation would always be a disadvantage against top-tier martial souls. Yu Qing had a premonition. If he couldn't improve his martial soul's quality, even with twin martial souls, his soul power could remain capped at level 98, never reaching level 99 and the realm of a true, titled Douluo. Evolving the martial soul had to be his first priority. When the last wisp of yin-yang power in his dantian had been refined and transformed into a clear spiritual qi that merged into his martial soul, Yu Qing opened his eyes. He summoned his martial soul. The purple leaf that had once only worn a few golden patterns along its veins now bore expansive golden filigree that covered nearly half its surface, forming a much more complex, profound pattern. The life aura emanating from the leaf was many times richer than before. It was so potent that a faint green mist of vitality formed a halo around Yu Qing, and the wooden floor under his feet creaked as several tender green shoots stubbornly pushed through. The effect resembled the life domain that appeared when he activated his martial soul true body, though dozens of times weaker. Qing murmured, putting away his martial soul and stroking his chin. Evolving into a top-tier martial soul will be a long, arduous path. I need to work harder on my cultivation. He also noticed a limitation in the system's dual cultivation function. With continuous dual cultivation, the benefits to soul power and yin-yang power growth sharply diminished. The first few times could bring extreme physical and spiritual pleasure and significant gains, but as the number of sessions increased, both the pleasure and the real benefits faded. It seemed dual cultivation needed a cooldown and sustainable pacing. Next time, he decided he would set it for 3 days later. Time passed. At noon the next day, sunlight poured through the lattice window. Duanxin and Ziruyi woke slowly, and when they opened their eyes and saw each other, both blushed deeply. The memories of last night's frenzy swept through them like a tide, causing them to squirm with embarrassment. Yet they could not deny the tangible growth in their soul power and the strange, potent yin-yang power now residing in them, and that made them secretly eager for more. At the same time, the soreness and the feeling of having been taken apart and put back together filled them with awe and a little fear of their husband's combat power. "Awake, get dressed and come eat," Qing called in a gentle voice. He had already tidied things up and sat at a table laden with fragrant dishes. The two women responded weakly, fumbling into their clothes, and took awkward steps to the table to sit down. Qing's lunch was lavish, a medicinal cuisine he had personally prepared, the 10 Great Tonic Feast. It was not only delicious, but also greatly enhanced physical constitution and promoted soul power growth. The two women ate in small bites, stealing glances at Qing. Every time their eyes met his, they lowered their heads like fawns, cheeks flushing, hearts pounding. The meal ended in an ambiguous, warm atmosphere. Soon the two women felt a wave of heat rise within them and the urge to dual cultivate again. "Steady your minds," Qing reminded them. "Circulate your meditation and guide the medicinal power through your bodies. That will help a lot." They obeyed at once. As they circulated their soul power according to his method, they discovered with surprised delight that not only was their soul power more active than before, but their physical strength had improved markedly. Half an hour later, they emerged from meditation, faces glowing. "Husband, what did you give us to eat?" "My soul power increased another level. Now it's level 58. Ziruyi exclaimed, eyes bright. "This is a medicinal cuisine I developed myself," Qing said with a smile. "The 10 Great Tonic Feast. It increases soul power and strengthens the body. But its most dramatic effect is the first time you eat it. After that, the effect becomes more gradual." "Husband is so amazing. He can even develop medicinal cuisine," Duanxin said, gazing at him with adoration. "Of course," Qing replied, pride in his voice. "What do you think I relied on to reach titled Douluo with innate soul power level 3? Research, unremitting research into medicinal cuisine, martial souls, and cultivation methods." "What?" Both women cried in disbelief. "Innate soul power level 3? How could someone become a titled Douluo with that?" Qing had expected their reaction. He smiled faintly, produced a document from his soul tool, and handed it to them. "Look at this, the official proof from Spirit Hall. It can't be fake." They took the slightly yellowed paper and read. The words made them freeze, mouths forming small O's. "Martial Soul. Awakening date, May 18th, Tote." If they remembered correctly, it was now Douluo calendar 2630, 24 years later. This meant the man before them had reached titled Douluo in only 24 years. A titled Douluo at 30, starting from innate soul power level 3. It was beyond genius. It was a living legend, an impossible miracle. Shock and awe washed over the two women like a tsunami. The shock soon gave way to admiration and reverence, so strong it felt like a surging river. For a moment, a dazzling halo seemed to surround Qing. Ding! Ziruyi's favorability +1, currently 82 points. Ding! Duanxin's favorability +1, currently 83 points. Ding! Ziruyi's favorability +1, currently 88 points. Ding! Currently 88 points. A string of system prompts chimed in Qing's mind, making him twitch his mouth, but he felt a burst of pride. Honesty clearly worked well for gaining favorability. Husband, let's continue dual cultivation, Duanshin cried, wrapping her slender arm around his and shaking it playfully. I want to be a titled Douluo before I'm 30. Despite her soreness, she was determined to try everything to achieve a miracle like her husband's. Qing was secretly delighted but quickly suppressed the impulse. The cooldown rule he had set couldn't be broken. He adopted a stern expression and gently tapped Duanshin's forehead. Senior, dual cultivation is good, but you mustn't become addicted to it or think it's the only path to progress, he said seriously. If your foundation is unstable and you rush for success, your later achievements will be limited. Zirui, cheeks flushed, added, Sister Shin, he's right. Last night's dual cultivation increased my soul power by 4 levels, but the big gains were only from the first 3 times. The next 2 times barely helped. After the 3rd time, the blissful feeling of yin and yang merging had given way to fatigue and soreness. Oh, Duanshin's disappointment was immediate, like a cat whose dried fish had been snatched away. Qing stroked her soft hair and softened his tone. Don't worry. With me by your side, it won't be hard to become a titled Douluo. I promise. Within 10 years, I'll get you there. Really? Duanshin's eyes lit up. Of course. Qing smiled confidently. You've already felt the medicinal cuisine's effects, and I have more than just that to offer. Their eyes shone even brighter, looking at him as if he were a walking treasure trove. Ding! Zirui's favorability +1, currently 89 points. Duanshin's favorability +1, currently 89 points. For female soul masters, tangible improvement in cultivation trumped sweet talk, a truth Qing understood well. Husband, you're truly amazing, Duanshin whispered, eyes full of worship. Marrying you was the greatest fortune of my life, Zirui said softly, her gaze warm. All right, let's get back to business, Qing said, clapping his hands and drawing their attention. When you were circulating the medicinal power just now, did you feel anything odd in your dantian? He tapped his lower abdomen. I did feel a peculiar, powerful energy there, Zirui said after concentrating. It feels purer and stronger than our soul power. Duanshin had felt it too. Qing's smile turned mysterious. That's another benefit from dual cultivation, yin-yang power. Refining it can not only increase soul power, but also evolve martial souls and even extend the lifespan of existing spirit rings. Evolve martial souls? Increase spirit ring lifespan? The 2 women were once again speechless at effects they had never imagined. They looked at Qing, then instinctively touched their lower abdomens, as if their world had just shifted and needed to be reshaped. 9. Advantages and disadvantages. It took them a long time to recover from the shock. In their minds, dual cultivation had been elevated to something sacred. Not only could it bring unparalleled pleasure, it could also evolve a spirit and send spirit power skyrocketing. It was the dream cultivation method for any spirit master. Qing spent that time patiently teaching them how to refine the yin-yang power stored in their bodies. Remember, he said with unusual seriousness, use the refined yin-yang power primarily to improve the quality of your spirits. Why? Isn't it better to increase our spirit power? Duanshin tilted her head in puzzlement. Shouldn't we try to raise the years on our spirit rings instead? Zirui added. After all, a higher year spirit ring meant a stronger spirit ability and could indirectly aid spirit evolution. Qing didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked, do you know the minimum requirements to become a titled Douluo? They shook their heads. Rank 7 innate soul power, he said, and your spirit quality must be at the advanced level. He held up 2 fingers. Your spirits should already be advanced, right? Duanshin asked, uncertain. Qing shook his head. I've examined both of your spirits closely. Right now, they sit between intermediate and advanced. Even though you both have rank 7 innate soul power, spirit quality determines the upper limit of your spirit power rank. If you don't raise your spirit quality to advanced, your future cap will be about rank 89 at best. Zirui thought for a moment. Husband, your innate soul power was only rank 3, so your spirit quality shouldn't have been high. How did you become a titled Douluo at 30? Because I evolved my spirit. Qing tapped his chest. By special methods, I raised my spirit quality to advanced. That's why I insist you prioritize spirit evolution. He summed it up succinctly. Innate soul power determines spirit quality, and spirit quality determines the cap on spirit power. At that explanation, the two of them finally understood and nodded. They followed Yu Qing's instructions and spent half a day completely refining the yin-yang power in their bodies, then injected it into their spirit interfaces. Immediately, they felt a marvelous change. Duan Xin's crimson flame dragon lizard spirit gained significant bloodline purity, shifting toward a true dragon lineage. Zi Rui's purple cloud vine spirit grew tougher and sprouted mysterious golden patterns across its violet vines. "Release your spirits so I can look," Yu Qing ordered. They complied. After a careful inspection, he nodded. "Not bad. You've crossed into advanced spirits, though you're not at the top of that tier yet. Will we always prioritize improving our spirits from now on?" Zirui asked, and Duan Xin looked to him for confirmation. "Yes, until your spirits reach the top tier, the yin-yang power goes to evolution first," Yu Qing answered. They agreed eagerly. For the next 2 days, Yu Qing slipped into what he jokingly called retired veteran mode, the salted fish life he dreamt of after 30 years of grinding to become a titled Douluo. The two women, while not ready to resume dual cultivation immediately, embraced the roles of doting wives. They enjoyed Yu Qing's carefully prepared medicinal meals, soaked in the medicinal baths he made at night, and spent most of their time giving him full-body massages. Clumsy at first, but rapidly improving until Yu Qing was groaning with pleasure. He wasn't idle either. Whenever possible, he taught them finer cultivation techniques and how to precisely control spirit power to maximize spirit ability while minimizing waste. On the third night, Yu Qing proposed resuming dual cultivation. Their faces were flushed, but they didn't hesitate. That night, he experienced the intimate merging once more. The effect wasn't as dramatic as the first time, but it was still substantial. Zirui's spirit power rose by 1 rank, and Yu Qing himself faintly brushed the threshold of rank 95. System notifications flashed, 500 yin-yang points, a small amount of yin-yang power. From those sessions, Yu Qing had pieced together the system's unwritten rules. The first 2 dual cultivation sessions yield the largest gains. The third session's effect drops sharply. By the fourth, the system enforces what he called Sage Mode, a forced cooldown. Interestingly, switching to a second Dao companion resets that Sage Mode. In other words, alternating between the two women allowed up to 6 high-yield sessions before the system forced a cooldown. "Hubby, you're incredible," Duan Xin murmured hoarsely when the last session ended. Zirui answered just as lazily, not wanting to move. After a moment, Duan Xin bargained sleepily. "How about twice every 3 days?" Zirui nodded. Yu Qing laughed, stroked their hair, and agreed to their terms. The 3 of them fell into a contented sleep. Yu Qing rose quietly, sat cross-legged beside the sofa, and began refining the yin-yang power in his body to further evolve his spirit. As the energy merged, the golden patterns on Zirui's purple vines spread again, already covering 2/3 of the veins. The life aura it emitted grew richer, approaching 1% of the effect of a life domain. Yu Qing then checked his spirit power and frowned. He was at rank 95, but the quality of the spirit power felt inferior to the levels he'd obtained through years of hard cultivation. He remembered compressing and purifying his spirit power since the Spirit King period, condensing a spirit core during his Spirit Saint era before hunting for spirit rings. That meticulous training had let him absorb a 100,000-year spirit ring, even at rank 70. Back then, Dugu Bo had even commented that Yu Qing's spirit power quality matched an ordinary titled Douluo. After becoming a spirit Douluo, his spirit power had begun to liquefy. After getting his second 100,000-year ring, it had fully transformed into liquid spirit power, a change most only saw at rank 96. Now the spirit power gained from dual cultivation was poor by comparison. This was the dreaded hollow spirit power. Practitioners who pluck yin to supplement yang were often criticized for unstable foundations. They leveled up quickly, but their actual combat strength lagged behind others of the same rank. That wouldn't do. Yu Qing immediately began an intense cycle of compression and purification. Each compression shaved off a bit of rank as the spirit power tightened and improved in quality. Once, twice. After 10 compressions, the spirit power reached the liquid standard. He exhaled in relief. but his rank had fallen back to the peak of rank 94. Those days of dual cultivation had only yielded less than half a rank of real gain. Still, solving the hollow spirit problem was worth something. He comforted himself with that. At noon the next day, the two women woke and began refining their yin-yang power again. They had relaxed entirely, facing Yu Qing with unabashed openness that made him twitch inwardly. They'd thrown off any remaining modesty. After their refinement, Yu Qing had them bathe, then carefully checked the spirit power in their bodies. Duanshin had not yet obtained her fifth spirit ring, so a large amount of spirit power remained stored in her body. For now, that masked any hollow quality. Zirui's situation was worse. The spirit power from dual cultivation was as thin as watered-down wine. Yu Qing's expression grew grave. "Is something wrong with my body?" Zirui asked, voice trembling. "Your body is fine," Yu Qing said, "but your spirit power is severely hollow. The 7 ranks you gained from dual cultivation are actually less effective than 2 ranks gained through normal cultivation." Panic flared in Zirui's eyes. "Then what should I do?" "Don't worry." Yu Qing smiled reassuringly and tapped her forehead. A stream of information flowed into her mind. "What is this?" Zirui blinked, confused for a moment, then looked as if she'd been struck by realization. "It's the soul power compression method, a secret technique I developed during my spirit ancestor period," Yu Qing explained. "I meant to teach it to you later, but because the spirit power from dual cultivation is so hollow, I'm advancing the lesson." Zirui immersed herself in the new information. A moment later, she raised her head, her eyes shining with excited light. Chapter 10, The Method of Tempering and Refining. Compressing and purifying soul power could greatly improve both its quality and quantity. Not only did it immensely increase the strength of soul techniques, it also drastically reduced soul power consumption. Zirui felt that truth in her bones. She used to hesitate before unleashing her 5th spirit ring because it would instantly eat up at least a third of her soul power. It had been a true soul power crematorium. But after her husband imprinted the soul power compression method into her mind, a single complete compression and purification could raise the total amount and purity of one level of soul power to the equivalent of 2 previous levels. With repeated compressions, the effect stacked. One level of soul power might rival the foundation of 5 previous levels. What did that mean? It meant she could now use her 5th spirit ring boldly, 10 times in a row, without having to painstakingly calculate consumption. Her husband had created a world-changing method. Zirui's eyes shone with adoration whenever she looked at Yu Qing. Yu Qing had also taught the method to Duanshin. Over the next few days, the two women devoted themselves entirely to compressing and purifying their soul power. The process was difficult, like consolidating loose sea sand into solid concrete, requiring immense patience and precise control. Only on the 6th day did the ethereal soul power in their bodies solidify completely. It became dense and compact, more than twice as condensed as before they learned the method. The cost was a drop in soul power level. Zirui fell from level 60 to 56, but Yu Qing was confident that a condensed level 56 would easily outmatch her former level 60 self. That night, the 3 of them completed the twice in 3 days dual cultivation ritual again. After refining yin-yang power and evolving their martial souls, the 2 women once more compressed and purified the slightly ethereal soul power they'd gained. When the whole process finished, they didn't feel drained. They felt refreshed, with their soul power full and solid. "How do you feel?" Yu Qing asked, smiling at the radiant women before him. "Indeed, twice in 3 days is the best rhythm," Duanshin exclaimed, her eyes soft and fixed on Yu Qing. "Husband, your dual cultivation method is miraculous." She blushed, then added in a small voice, "It's just, husband, you're too amazing, and it's a little too long. We're slightly overwhelmed." Yu Qing's prowess in that regard was extraordinary. Even with the twice in 3 days schedule, each session lasted half an hour to an hour. The pleasure was intoxicating, but the duration could leave them feeling as if their brains were being scrambled. The 2 women had even joked about finding a concubine to share the sweet burden. As for why Yu Qing controlled the timing and frequency, of course it was for sustainable development and to pave the way for recruiting future Dao companions. Shiner, Ri, We've figured out the rhythm of the dual cultivation method. What are your plans next? Qing changed the subject smoothly. If he hadn't wanted to fully understand the system's dual cultivation mechanism, he wouldn't have stayed cooped up in a small inn for more than 10 days. Duanshin slapped her forehead. Oh no, I forgot the important reason I came here. I came to hunt for my 5th spirit ring. The two women exchanged looks, embarrassed. They'd been so absorbed in dual cultivation and consolidation, they'd nearly forgotten their original purpose. Sheener, do you have a specific type of spirit beast in mind for your 5th spirit ring? Qing asked. A 10,000-year fire attribute soul beast, preferably a subdragon species, Duanshin said immediately. It would be the most compatible with my crimson flame dragon lizard marshal's soul. Qing stroked his chin, recalling his half-year of observation deep in the Stardew Great Forest. A picture of a powerful soul beast rose in his mind, a perfect match, but with a caveat. Zener, I do have a suitable target, he said carefully. It's a pure dragon species, fire attribute, the crimson-eyed burst dragon. However, its age is somewhat high. How old exactly? Duanshin leaned forward, eyes shining. Based on my observations, at least 20,000 years of cultivation, Qing answered. 20,000 years? Duanshin's excitement snapped into horror. Husband, that's too old. It's a top-tier dragon. I'm only at the Soul King realm. I can't absorb it. Are you sending me to my death? Her voice trembled. Qing saw that though she was frightened, her system favorability hadn't dropped at all. There was still hope. He smiled lightly, encouraging. Sheener, do you want to try? How do I try? My medicinal cuisine and the medicated baths I've had you take these past few days aren't ordinary tonics, Qing began to reveal. I estimate they've increased the maximum spirit ring absorption limit your body can withstand by at least 8,000 years beyond its original foundation. As he spoke, 9 transcendent spirit rings rose once more from beneath his feet, radiating a pressure that made hearts skip. He pointed to the pitch-black 5th ring among them. Do you know how old your husband's 5th spirit ring is? He asked. The two women stared at the dreamlike ring formation, longing in their eyes. Zirui guessed, at least 30,000 or 40. Qing shook his head and said a number that left them stunned. My 5th spirit ring is 50,000 years old. 50,000, they both cried. If not for the many shocks Qing had already given them, they might have jumped. And I was able to absorb that 50,000-year spirit ring by skipping ranks because of the medicinal cuisine and the medicated baths I developed. Qing continued. They greatly fortified my physique and mental endurance. The most crucial ingredient in those was 10,000-year whale resin. 10,000-year whale resin? Zirui stammered, her face flushing. Isn't that something nobles use to enhance pleasure? That's only one of its side effects, Qing said with a smile. The core function of whale resin is to strengthen the foundation and fortify the body, fundamentally raising a soul master's maximum spirit ring absorption limit. The older the whale resin, the more astonishing the effect. He looked at them seriously. For the medicinal cuisine I gave you, I used a 50,000-year whale resin, specially processed and combined with dozens of other foundational herbs to maximize the effect. With your current physical foundation, absorbing a 20,000-year spirit ring isn't impossible. The two women stared at their handsome, eloquent husband, knowledgeable, powerful, and utterly devoted. How could they not trust him completely? Confidence and joy began to dispel their fear. Duanshin breathed deeply and set her jaw with determination. Husband, my 5th spirit ring will be the crimson-eyed burst dragon. I believe in you. Qing grinned. Sheener, rest assured, with me here, I'll make sure you absorb that spirit ring safely. Duanshin was thrilled, already imagining the power of a 20,000-year spirit ring. Shall we leave now? Zirui asked, impatient. No rush. Qing shook his head. Sheener, first take out the 80,000-year right leg spirit bone I gave you earlier. Absorb it now? Duanshin blinked. Yes. Qing's expression turned serious. I'll use my special method to help you absorb the spirit bone. During the process, I'll guide the soul power in your body to perform a special tempering. You mustn't resist. Completely relax and leave it to me. Duanshin didn't fully understand, but she trusted him absolutely. She carefully took the dark spirit bone from her storage soul tool, It radiated a scorching aura. Yu Qing had her sit cross-legged, clear her mind, and begin absorbing the bone's energy. He placed one hand gently on her back and let his vast, gentle soul power flow, directing the massive energy from the 80,000-year spirit bone into her. Every time the spirit bone's power was absorbed, Yu Qing immediately set it to circulate along a refined route, from the skin's surface into the blood, flushing the meridians, and finally penetrating to the bones, performing a comprehensive tempering. This was one of Yu Qing's core trump cards, the Thousand Refinements Method. Using soul power as a hammer and the body as iron, 1,000 refinements brought complete transformation. Each full tempering could produce a qualitative leap in physical strength. But the method consumed an immense amount of soul power. The soul power of a Soul King was barely enough for one complete tempering. That was why Yu Qing used the 80,000-year spirit bone as a continuous energy source. Its vast soul power could support Duan-Xin through 10 full temperings of the Thousand Refinements Method. One tempering could increase a Soul King's physical endurance limit by the equivalent of at least 500 years of spirit ring age. 10 temperings would make her physique rival a Soul Emperor's. Complete 100, and she might endow a Soul Emperor with the physique of a Soul Sage. Yu Qing himself had relied on the Thousand Refinements Method during his Soul Sage period, completing an astonishing 3,000 temperings and gaining a physique comparable to a titled Douluo. That terrifying body had laid the foundation for him to absorb spirit rings beyond his rank. Now, for his Dao companions, he unhesitatingly brought out his greatest trump card. Shiner, Rui, I will make you stand at the pinnacle of this continent. Yu Qing's eyes gleamed with a determined, gentle light as he concentrated his soul power and the spirit bone's energy to begin the first tempering. 11. Fellow soul hunting. As the creator of the Thousand Refinements Method, Yu Qing was intimately familiar with guiding soul power to temper the body. He directed the majestic energy from the 80,000-year spirit bone with absolute precision, completing 10 refinements for Duan-Xin. When he withdrew his hand, he asked softly, "Do you remember the route and rhythm I used to guide the soul power?" Duan-Xin opened her eyes, cheeks a little flushed, and scratched her head in embarrassment. "I'm sorry, husband. Your method of circulating soul power is just too complex. The channels touch every tiny meridian in the body, and the shifts are incredibly subtle. I've only barely memorized less than 10%. Yu Qing wasn't surprised. The Thousand Refinements Method was the most intricate meditation technique on the Douluo Continent. Its difficulty made most so-called god-level methods look simple. It was like expecting an ancient artisan to build a lithography machine just from a glance at the blueprints. "It doesn't matter," he said gently. "There's plenty of time. I'll teach you slowly." Then he turned to Rui. "Rui, are you ready? Your turn." By the time he had helped Rui complete 10 body refinements, the sky outside the window was paling toward dawn. Though most of the spirit bone's energy had been used to temper physique, the 80,000-year spirit bone still contained an immense reservoir of soul power. After absorption, it raised Rui's soul power by one whole level. After dressing the two women in durable, dirt-resistant martial attire suitable for action, they prepared to set out for the Star-Dew Great Forest. They reached the hotel lobby to find it almost empty, a stark contrast to its usual bustle. When Yu Qing set a few gold spirit coins on the counter to pay for the room, the owner looked up and froze. His expression shifted through shock, admiration, and a touch of envy. Even a passing waiter couldn't help but stare, eyes filled with a kind of respectful awe. This lord, he was simply too powerful. 10+ days holed up in the room, rarely seen in public, and with two ladies who never showed their faces, what kind of earth-shattering combat power could this be? Yu Qing felt awkward under those gazes. He finished paying quickly and practically dragged Duan-Xin and Rui out of the hotel with a hurried whoosh. The owner let out a long, envious sigh as they disappeared down the street. "A role model for our generation," he muttered. They traveled fast and reached the outer edges of the Star-Dew Great Forest within 2 hours. Yu Qing stopped before they entered, looking at the two women seriously. "How many times have you been to the Star-Dew Great Forest?" "It's my first time," Rui answered. "Oh, Where did you hunt for your previous spirit rings? Yu Qing asked. My first 3 rings were from a soul-hunting forest raised by the Spirit Hall. My 4th and 5th came from the Sunset Forest, Zirui explained. Same for me, Duanxin added. But I heard the Stardow Great Forest has more and stronger sub-dragon soul beasts, so I wanted to try my luck here. Yu Qing's expression hardened. Listen carefully. The Stardow Great Forest is the most dangerous soul beast habitat on the continent. Even in the outer regions, you can run into 10,000-year soul beasts. The beasts here are fiercer, more cunning, and far more aggressive than those in managed forests or the Sunset Forest. Every year, many soul emperors and soul sages die here. His gaze swept over the two. After we go in, do not leave my side by more than 3 meters. Understand? Yes, they both nodded solemnly. With the warning given, Yu Qing led them into the dense green. Relying on his memory, he pressed toward the area where the crimson-eyed burst dragon might be active. He set a controlled pace to suit the 2 women and spread his spiritual power to cover 100 yards, sensing any movement. Whenever he detected a soul beast's aura, he'd press down with his overwhelming spiritual power to pin it briefly. Only after they had passed would he release the pressure. They moved smoothly into the mixed zone of the Stardew Great Forest, where 10,000-year soul beasts were common and most species were rare beyond these woods. Even the occasional 1,000-year beasts here often had noble bloodlines and strength comparable to many 10,000-year creatures elsewhere. Only now did Duanxin and Zirui truly understand the terror of this place. Left to their original strength, they probably wouldn't have made it into the mixed zone alive. After traveling several hundred miles more, Yu Qing signaled for a rest. Let's stop and eat, replenish our strength. The 2 sank down gratefully and nibbled dry rations while remaining alert. Giant, ancient trees and tangled undergrowth formed a natural maze, concealing dangers in every direction. Compared to the relatively mild Sunset Forest, this place was hellish. Yu Qing kept his spiritual power active. If a powerful 10,000-year soul beast approached, he would knock it unconscious outright. If it was a more ordinary one, he'd relax the suppression so it could approach, an opportunity for the 2 women to hone alertness and combat skills. After a period of such controlled encounters, the 2's vigilance and practical abilities had improved markedly. Yu Qing stroked his chin and decided it was time to test their actual combat capability with a high-intensity session. He spiritually scanned the area, screened targets, and lured an ordinary 10,000-year soul beast from dozens of miles away. He intended to test them step by step, from easy to difficult. As the beast approached, Zirui, just finishing a piece of dried meat, frowned. Her purple cloud vine martial soul gave her an intuitive feel for the plants around them. Xinmei, something's coming. Get ready, she said, springing up alert. Duanxin reacted instantaneously, completing her martial soul possession. The 4 spirit rings at her feet flashed as she entered combat stance. The beast emerged from among the trees, a giant lizard nearly 5 meters long, its pale red scales and thick limbs pulsing with faintly black soul power, freshly ascended to 10,000 years. Its strength approximated a rank 52 battle soul king, manageable for the current 2 women. Husband, shall we fight? Zirui asked Yu Qing. Give it everything. I want to see your strength, he said, folding his hands behind his back like an examiner. Okay. They nodded and moved to meet the red-armored iguana. The red-armored iguana was an ordinary 10,000-year soul beast, common, with mediocre strength and low hunting difficulty. Its spirit ring was broadly compatible with many beast martial souls, which made it a frequent pick for the 5th spirit ring among commoner soul masters, though the resulting soul skills were usually unremarkable. Ambitious soul masters rarely chose it. Yu Qing watched calmly as the 2 engaged. Their evolution, martial soul evolution, soul power compression and purification, and the 10 refinements from the Thousand Refinements Method had given them a tremendous boost. Their combat power now far exceeded what their raw soul power level suggested. They felt it too. Their soul skills hit much harder, but consumed drastically less soul power. Skills that once drained huge reserves now cost less than a tenth. Where ordinary soul ancestors or soul kings might exhaust themselves after using 4th or 5th ring skills 3 or 4 times, These two could unleash them a dozen times and still have energy left. Their cooperation was smooth. Zirui used her evolved purple cloud vine for precise control, restricting the iguana's movement. Duanxin focused on raw power, her scorching dragon flame repeatedly blasting the lizard's scales. Using soul skills like basic attacks, they overwhelmed the iguana until it swam in circles and had no strength left to fight. Qing didn't let them kill it. He signaled for them to expel the beast instead. The red-armored iguana fled into the jungle, spared but confused by the unusual humans who both brutalized and then released it. Seeing them barely winded and with minimal soul power expenditure, Qing's curiosity to test them further only grew. The two women were excited too. "I feel so much stronger. Before, even with both of us cooperating, we couldn't have handled that 10,000-year beast so easily," Duanxin said to Zirui. "This is all thanks to husband," Zirui replied, looking at Qing with warmth. Qing cut off their praise with a smile. "How do you feel? Want to continue?" They exchanged a look and nodded without hesitation. "Yes." So the training went on. Qing deliberately escalated the difficulty. He moved from ordinary 10,000-year beasts to specimens with rare bloodlines, and then raised their ages from 10,000 to 15,000 years. Each new opponent was stronger, more dangerous, and carried superior bloodlines or elemental traits that made them far harder to deal with, beasts that could challenge an ordinary Soul Emperor in one-on-one combat. The two paid the price of steep learning. They suffered repeated defeats, were pushed into desperate scrambles, and even took heavy injuries. But with Qing, like a mobile fountain nearby, nothing remained permanent. One purple leaf from him instantly restored them to full health and vigor. Through cycles of defeat, recovery, reflection, and renewed combat, their practical skills advanced visibly. From initial routes to barely holding ground, then to fighting to a draw and finally seizing counterattack openings, their improvement was dramatic, mining potential from their current levels to the limit. After a half-month of this grueling, high-intensity practical combat training, both Duanxin and Zirui had grown capable of challenging higher-level foes and taking on ordinary Soul Emperors. Qing watched them and nodded with satisfaction, bringing their half-month hell-style training to an end. 12. Titan Ape Duanxin and Zirui were ecstatic with the results of the practical combat training. At the quasi-Soul King level, and with power comparable to a Soul Emperor, this kind of improvement had been unimaginable before. In their hearts, Qing had quietly risen above the standing of their own families. Sigh. Why am I the next clan leader of the Duan family? Why not just pack up the whole Duan family and give it to my husband? Duanxin sighed inwardly. Then a sudden inspiration hit her. Wait, that actually sounds like a good idea. I should find a way to give the Z family to my husband too. Then I can be with him forever. Zirui thought the same thing. Their ideas were a little bold, but any small Soulmaster family would clutch at the chance to latch on to a titled Douluo for steady development. Qing had no idea about these family plans. Right now, he was focused on locating the crimson-eyed burst dragon's territory. He expanded his spiritual perception out to 1,000 zhang, and the mixed zone terrain resolved in his mind like a 3D model. Moving forward, he conducted a systematic sweep, comparing details from memory. At last, he caught a pure dragon bloodline aura, an oppressive presence that struck his spirit like dangerous radiation. When they stepped into the crimson-eyed burst dragon's territory, the environment changed abruptly. Trees thinned out and gave way to sprawling shrubs and jagged stone forests. Scattered among those stone forests were numerous giant soul beast skeletons, long dead, yet still radiating a heart-pounding pressure. Among the remains were high-level soul beasts. The three even saw the skeletons of 2 vigorous Vajra bears. As befits a top-tier soul beast, the king of the food chain, Qing thought. Sensing intruders, the crimson-eyed burst dragon at the center of the stone forest shot toward them with incredible speed. In 5 minutes, it covered well over 100 li, its massive form coming into view. It looked like a classic Western dragon, more than 7 meters long, a slender tail taking up a third of its body, dark red flames running from its back to the tail tip. When it spread its huge wings, those flames burst like sparks and sent out searing heat. Its gray-white scales shone with a metallic glint, a mobile steel fortress, and two silver-gray horns more than 20 centimeters long crowned its head, signs of 20,000 years of cultivation. Most striking were the crimson vertical pupils with faint gold filaments, radiating cold majesty. But a mere 20,000-year soul beast was no match for Yu Qing. He didn't give it a chance to react. His right hand glowed purple. Astral power surged through him, and he made a grasping motion in the air toward the flying dragon. Star Luo Hand. Starlight gathered and formed a giant purple handprint in the sky. It flickered with Yu Qing's astral power, echoing the meridians of his arm, one of his self-created soul skills with powerful sealing and control effects. Once bound, escape was virtually impossible. It could block the flow of soul power and seal meridians and acupoints. Although it didn't directly inflict major damage, it instantly robbed a target of any ability to resist. If an opponent's soul power far exceeded his, they might break free, but with Yu Qing's title-level cultivation, a casually unleashed Star Luo Hand could suppress a peer for several seconds. Against this 20,000-year soul beast, it was effectively a permanent seal. The two women watched with shock and worship as Yu Qing subdued the crimson-eyed burst dragon without manifesting spirit rings or obvious soul power fluctuations. "Sheener, finish it," Yu Qing said, pulling the immobilized dragon in front of him. Duanxin sprang into action, unleashing all her strength in a barrage of soul skills. Her attacks only left a few shallow marks on the dragon's scales. The beast's eyes showed clear disdain. "Husband, I can't kill it," Duanxin said, crestfallen. She had even used her spirit bone skill and still couldn't break the dragon's defense. "Try this," Yu Qing said, taking a uniquely shaped triangular military spike from his storage bracelet. The blade was red and white and gave off an uncanny dual aura of ice and fire. The spike had been forged from deep-sea sunken silver and infused with the spring essence of the ice and fire yin-yang well and various toxins, including the jade phosphor serpent emperor poison of the famed old poison. It was not only razor-sharp, but lethally toxic, capable of wounding even a 100,000-year spirit beast. Duanxin reached to touch the blade, curious. "Don't touch it," Yu Qing warned. "It's incredibly poisonous. Even a scratch could kill a soul duo." "Ah?" Duanxin's hand trembled and she almost dropped the spike. "It's that dangerous." "When has your husband ever lied to you?" Yu Qing said helplessly. Duanxin gripped the spike and stabbed with all her strength at the crimson-eyed burst dragon's head. The tip pierced the dragon's scales easily, but then stuck after sinking only a little. Duanxin froze. Yu Qing palm-faced his forehead. "Sheener, open your mouth." She obeyed without understanding why. Yu Qing flicked a purple leaf with blood-red veins into her mouth. Third soul skill, Dragon Elephant Power Sky-Propping Leaf. Instantly, Duanxin felt a sustained surge of force through her. Yu Qing's third soul skill, which could double the user's strength and soul power for a short time. With doubled power, the spike sank entirely into the dragon's head. The toxins spread, and the gray-white scales quickly bloomed strange red, blue, green, before black-red dragon blood gushed from its mouth and corroded deep pits where it hit the ground. "Hiss! Such terrifying toxicity," Duanxin gasped. "Of course," Yu Qing said with pride. "This spike is infused with the poison of a famous poison Douluo. The poison Douluo who's said to be capable of slaughtering an entire city alone?" Zirui's voice trembled with fear. "Yes," Yu Qing nodded. "Do you have a good relationship with that poison Douluo?" Duanxin asked curiously. Yu Qing's face took on a thoughtful look. "You could say we're frenemies." His acquaintance with the poison Douluo had started with a carefully arranged chance encounter, a necessary connection, since the ice and fire yin-yang well tied into his path to becoming a titled Douluo. The crimson-eyed burst dragon finally succumbed to the poison and died. From its corpse, a pitch-black spirit ring rose, the energy fluctuations far exceeding an ordinary 20,000-year ring and approaching the 30,000-year level. Yu Qing summoned his martial soul, and 9 spirit rings rose in rhythm. His 6th spirit ring lit up. 6th soul skill, Unbreakable Golden Lotus Leaf. A golden lotus leaf separated from the purple profound gold leaf. Yu Qing stowed his martial soul and handed the golden lotus leaf to Duanxin. "Use this when you absorb the spirit ring." Duanxin took it obediently and prepared to absorb. Beside them, Zirui's eyes suddenly flashed wide. Husband, you're a food system soul master? Yes. Why? Qing said flatly. But food system soul masters are said to cultivate very slowly, and you just handled an indestructible Vajra-level opponent with ease? Can a food system titled Douluo really reach this level? Zirui stammered, bewildered. This completely overturned her assumptions about the Douluo continent. Qing looked at her with sharp eyes. Rui, remember, rules are meant to be broken. If your husband had strictly followed the rules with an innate level 3 soul power, could I have reached what I have now? Zirui could only shake her head. Qing stood with his hands behind his back, looking up at the sky with absolute confidence. As soul masters, we should explore realms predecessors never reached and push the path of the soul master to even greater heights. That bit of inspiration made both women's eyes mist over with adoration and worship. Duanxin began absorbing the spirit ring. Even with Qing's soul skill aid, the process was agonizing. The violent energy impacts caused fine beads of blood to weep from her body. In 10 minutes, she was riddled with wounds, dangerously close to exploding and dying. The soul shock from the crimson-eyed burst dragon had also battered her spirit. Qing didn't hesitate. 7th soul skill, leaves protecting all living beings, true body manifestation. He unleashed his martial soul true body. A flash of vibrant red light passed, and a lush green leaf merged into him. Immediately, a majestic power of life surged outward, covering hundreds of li. With its true body active, Qing's life aura was so dense it felt almost viscous. The life rain nourished the earth. Wherever it touched, desolate stone forest became verdant. Duanxin's wounds healed visibly, and the pain and spiritual shock were soothed by the power of life. Though the energy impact continued, the life force kept repairing her in time. The tug-of-war between destruction and restoration lasted half an hour. Finally, Duanxin absorbed the spirit ring. The black ring settled into her 5th spirit ring slot, and her soul power broke through 5 levels at once to reach level 56. Congratulations, you've completed your first over-limit spirit ring absorption. Qing retracted his martial soul true body and smiled. Hey, it's all thanks to you, husband. Duanxin beamed, flushed with excitement. Just as the three prepared to leave, a terrifying soul power fluctuation approached. Qing expanded his perception and his expression turned odd. What's wrong, husband? Zirui asked. Nothing. That is, there's a soul beast coming toward us, Qing replied. What kind of soul beast? Duanxin asked eagerly. There, coming now. Qing pointed ahead. The two women looked and saw a mountain-sized ape descending from the sky, crashing onto the open ground 1,000 meters away with a thunderous boom. Its muscles bulged like carved rock, and its bright yellow eyes were like twin moons, radiating a terrifying pressure. The king of the Stardew Great Forest had arrived, the Titan giant ape. At that moment, Duanxin and Zirui felt as if an invisible hand had closed around their throats. Their breaths came short and sharp, their hearts hammering so violently they feared they might burst. The Titan giant ape. How could they not recognize it? It was a legendary, top-tier soul beast, a terrifying existence said to be able to contend with a 10,000-year soul beast after only a century of cultivation. Its mountain-sized bulk and the tangible, crimson pressure of its soul power announced it clearly. This was the king of the Stardew Great Forest, the 100,000-year spirit beast, the Titan giant ape. Husband, can you beat it? Duanxin's voice trembled. The eagerness to fight she'd shown earlier had vanished. Qing rubbed his chin and considered. Probably 9-1. With one combo attack from him, the Titan giant ape could die 9 times over. After all, the way he'd earned his 9th spirit ring, by dealing with that 180,000-year azure gloom ancient tree, had been the same. The Titan giant ape's huge yellow eyes studied Qing solemnly. While patrolling the mix zone, it had sensed a life aura purer even than the blue-silver emperor's. If it could devour that aura's owner, it would be certain of surviving the coming 100,000-year heavenly tribulation. So it had charged straight over, only to find the source was a human soul master. Doubt flickered through the ape's mind, but the overwhelming life aura clinging to Qing kept its desire to devour him intense. Qing's dark eyes met the ape's gaze. A slow, dangerous smile tugged at his mouth. What luck, one delivered right to his door. Since you've come, I'll take your spirit ring and spirit bone. 1 second the human had seemed harmless. The next, a threatening aura that made the Titan giant ape shiver burst from him. Titan giant ape, I will accept your spirit ring and spirit bone. Before he finished, 9 spirit rings rose beneath his feet in sequence. Purple, purple, black, 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 red, red, red. At the sight of those 3 blood-red 100,000-year rings, the Titan giant ape's pupils contracted in disbelief. This human actually carried 300,000-year spirit rings? Before the beast could think further, Yu Qing's oppressive aura intensified with every step he took. The Titan giant ape bellowed, an earth-shattering roar, and its massive body launched like a collapsing mountain. Its fists, wrapped in destructive power, smashed down toward Yu Qing, the full mobilization of its soul power and strength, enough to pulverize an ordinary titled Douluo. Star-burning battle method, activate! Yu Qing's body trembled. The purple-gold star core in his dantian flared, and star power surged through his meridians. Purple-gold flames of star power erupted around him, boosting his soul power, physique, strength, and speed in an instant. These flames were not only blistering hot, but contained terrifying destructive energy. As the Titan giant ape's fist descended like a mountain, Yu Qing calmly raised a hand and caught the blow. Starlight gathered in his right fist. Star-shattering, first form. The punch launched. Space seemed to ripple. When his fist struck the ape's chest, a terrible force exploded outward, tearing open a bloody hole. The Titan giant ape was sent flying over 100 meters like a meteor and crashed into the ground with a thunderous impact. Roar! Pain and fury tore from the beast. It could not fathom being so grievously wounded in a single exchange. Duanshin and Zirui stared, stunned, at the man who remained composed with his fist retracted. The Titan giant ape staggered to its feet, red soul power flaring wildly, and unleashed another blow. Titan celestial cannon. A condensed red energy cannon tore through the air, a rare long-range attack capable of reducing 80,000-year soul beasts to dust. Buzz! Starlight flashed beneath Yu Qing's feet, and he vanished in an instant, slipping the attack. In the next breath, he was behind the Titan giant ape like a shadow. Star-shattering, second form. The second strike hit like a collapsing star. Cracks spidered across the ape's hide from the impact point as blood gushed out like a waterfall. It collapsed, vitality draining with the blood, not merely afraid, but deeply unwilling to accept this fate. The magnificent 100,000-year king of the forest felled so swiftly by a human titled Douluo. The Titan giant ape, defeated, closed its eyes in despair. Yu Qing advanced to deliver the final blow when a small pink figure suddenly darted out and flung itself between them, arms spread to block the massive body. You're not allowed to hurt second brightness. The voice was clear and trembling, but resolute. Yu Qing blinked. The pink, jade-like child in front of him, could it be? The golden pillar of fortune rising from her body nearly blinded his eye of fortune. Holy crap, that's Xiao Wu. Recognition snapped into him. This was the familiar figure from the original Douluo Continent. For a moment he was stunned. Little rabbit, move aside, Yu Qing frowned. I only want the Titan giant ape's spirit ring and spirit bone. Please, can you let second brightness go? Xiao Wu's big eyes filled with tears as she pleaded. I'll trade for second brightness. She hurriedly pulled a shimmering spirit bone from a pouch at her waist, presenting it with hopeful, watery eyes. My mother left this to me. It's very precious. Yu Qing arched a brow. A 90,000-year spirit bone? Not bad, but still not enough. Little rabbit, I can tell the difference between a 100,000-year bone and a 90,000-year bone, he said flatly. Step aside. Xiao Wu froze, aghast. Hadn't her mother told her spirit bones were priceless to human soul masters? Why did this person seem unimpressed? Respected human expert. A gentle, pleasant voice then sounded behind Yu Qing. What if we add her? He turned. A woman in a pink dress had appeared without him noticing. Her figure was outstanding. Long legs, slim waist, an exquisitely beautiful face. Her manner was soft and alluring, and her fortune was bright red. But Yu Qing didn't have time to admire her. Her hands rested lightly on Duanshin's and Zirui's shoulders. They were clearly being held hostage. You're impressive, Yu Qing said coldly, the purple gold flames around him receding. You're the first woman who's threatened me. The woman in pink shrugged with an apologetic look. I had no choice. I needed to save my friend. Her tone remained gentle. But your threats don't work on me. Yu Qing snorted, and in a blink, he transformed into a streak of starlight and vanished. The next instant, he reappeared in front of Duanxin and Zirui, grabbing both of them by the arms. Star Flash! Starlight flared, and in a flash, the three of them were back where they had started. The woman in pink never had time to react. Her hostages were gone. Now, any more threats? Yu Qing released Duanxin and Zirui and looked calmly at the woman. She stared at the empty space, then gave a bitter smile. All right, human expert, you win. I surrender. I only ask that you spare Second Brightness and Xiao Wu. I will do anything. She forced out, don't you need spirit rings and spirit bones? I'm a spirit beast in human form at my mature stage. Compared with the Titan giant ape that just advanced to 100,000 years, aren't my spirit ring and spirit bone better? Yu Qing glanced at her. What's your name? Aru, she replied softly. You haven't lived long in the human world, have you? He asked. A few visits, Aru said honestly, but I had to watch over Xiao Wu, so I didn't stay. Have you ever fallen in love with a human? Yu Qing pressed. Aru tilted her head, bewildered by such a question. No, she said after a moment. Falling in love with a human is too dangerous. I wouldn't risk it. Yu Qing stared at her a long time and then asked, Are you sure you want to trade yourself for the two of them? Aru looked to Xiao Wu, who was trembling, and nodded firmly. I am sure. All right, I accept your proposal, Yu Qing said, but the Titan giant ape must be traded for something else. Human, don't be greedy. Aru's willow brows drew together, her gentle tone laced with anger. Please, right now I have the initiative. Yu Qing spread his hands in mock indifference. If you insist, I could take both of them. Aru closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and forced down her anger. If Great Brightness, the Azure Ox Python, were here, she wouldn't be so cornered. Fine, she sighed. What do you want in exchange for letting Second Brightness go? It's simple. Yu Qing was calm. I want 100,000-year head spirit bone. Impossible. Aru nearly lost her composed voice. Human, do you know how rare a 10,000-year spirit bone is, let alone 100,000? And you ask for a head? We don't have one. Then 2 90,000-year head spirit bones will do. Yu Qing stepped back. We don't have those either, Aru said. Do you have an 80,000-year head spirit bone? Yu Qing probed. We do have that. After a round of tense yet oddly courteous negotiating, both sides reached an agreement. The final price to secure Second Brightness and to take possession of the Titan giant ape was set, 2 80,000-year head spirit bones and 2 70,000-year head spirit bones. Aru watched Yu Qing pocket the spirit bones and asked, curious despite herself, Human, why do you need so many head spirit bones? Yu Qing turned, his gaze softening as it fell on Duanxin and Zirui, still shaken, but looking at him with admiration. A smile touched the corner of his mouth. Of course, he said, they're for my 2 wives. Chapter 14. Aru, who is single-minded. Yu Qing's words were like warm sunlight, instantly melting the hearts of Duanxin and Zirui. They had never expected that, even now, their husbands' thoughts would still be full of concern for them. Ding, Duanxin favorability +1, current favorability 90. Congratulations to the host's Dao companion Duanxin for reaching 90 favorability. Rewards, 50,000 yin-yang points, favorability treasure chest X1, spirit ring age card, 20,000 years, X1. Ding, Zirui favorability +1, current favorability 90. Congratulations to the host's Dao companion Zirui for reaching 90 favorability. Rewards, 50,000 yin-yang points, favorability treasure chest X1, purple soul power crystal, increases 1 level of soul power for any soul master below Soul King, X1. A stream of pleasant system notifications rang in Yu Qing's head. The generous rewards made the corners of his mouth curl up involuntarily. Aru looked at him with a complicated expression. He was a little flirtatious, undeniably, but his concern for his wives was real. Far better than those men who only knew how to speak sweet words without backing them up. Mama, Second Brightness doesn't have to die anymore, right? Xiao Wu ran to Aru's side, hugging her long leg and looking up with a bright, innocent face. Aru smiled and gently ruffled Xiao Wu's hair. Yes, he doesn't have to die. Yay! Mama's the best. You saved second brightness again. Xiao Wu jumped with delight. It's also because that powerhouse didn't mean us much harm, Aru said, her gaze drifting unintentionally toward Yu Qing. For some reason, the domineering human she had disliked before now seemed much more agreeable. Hearing that, Xiao Wu skipped over to Yu Qing and chirped, "Hello, my name is Xiao Wu. Thank you for letting second brightness go today." "You little rabbit really are a bit heartless, aren't you?" Yu Qing teased. The little girl was adorable, but he wasn't interested in her that way. It was Aru's mature charm that made his heart flutter. Xiao Wu cocked her head, pink eyes puzzled. "Heartless? But I have a heart?" This rabbit really was simple-minded. No wonder she'd been tricked into being a sacrificial offering in the original story, Yu Qing thought with mild amusement. He decided to toy a little. "Little rabbit, do you think I'm a good person or a bad person?" "A good person," Xiao Wu answered without hesitation. In her simple view, anyone who hurt her or her friends was bad. Yu Qing had let second brightness go and hadn't attacked them, so he must be good. Just as Yu Qing was planning his next tease, Xiao Wu reached up, put a tiny hand on his arm, and peered at him with clear, earnest eyes. "Human, can we be friends?" Yu Qing's eye twitched. She was so guileless it was almost foolish. She'd probably be perfectly content after being sold. Seeing Xiao Wu get ready to benignly trust someone again, Aru hurried over. She shot Yu Qing a guarded glance, crouched, and began to teach Xiao Wu. "Human men are very dangerous. They trick little rabbits." Xiao Wu shrank behind her, frightened. Only after she retreated did Aru stand and apologize to Yu Qing. "My daughter is simple. Please don't take offense." Yu Qing waved it off. "Isn't she cute?" Aru pressed a little. "Just cute?" he nodded. "Yes." Relief showed on Aro's face. "I need to retrieve the spirit bone. Could you tend to second brightness's injuries first? If we delay, he might not survive until dawn." "Sure." Yu Qing stepped to the Titan giant ape's huge carcass, released his martial soul, and called out, "Fifth soul skill, everlasting blue-silver leaf." A blue leaf peeled from his martial soul, similar in shape to blue-silver grass, but with golden patterns flowing on it that marked its special nature. With Yu Qing's cultivation as a titled Douluo, its healing power was tremendous. After second brightness consumed the leaf, his grievous wounds healed visibly, restoring to normal in only a few breaths. Aren't you a power attack system soul master?" Aru rubbed her eyes, disbelief shattering decades of assumptions. "Who says a support system soul master has to be weaker than an offensive type one?" Yu Qing sneered lightly. "Aunt Ro, he really didn't use his martial soul before." Second brightness confirmed in a muffled voice, still trembling with fear as he looked at Yu Qing. Aru put a hand to her chest, alarm plain on her lovely face. "It seems the human world is becoming more dangerous." "Don't worry, support-type soul masters like me are unique on the whole continent," Yu Qing reassured her quickly. He didn't want to scare her off. He still hoped to abduct her out of the Stardew Great Forest. "Really?" Aru was skeptical. "Absolutely," he said confidently. Aru left to fetch the spirit bone. To be safe, Yu Qing kept the Titan giant ape and Xiao Wu by his side. Perhaps because she'd just been warned, Xiao Wu no longer approached him, but observed with bright curiosity, as if trying to spot the so-called danger. Ignoring the little rabbit's scrutiny, Yu Qing chatted with second brightness. "I heard from her. This isn't the first time someone saved you. What happened?" The Titan giant ape scratched his huge head. "I encountered a very special blue-silver emperor before. I wanted to eat her to help me pass the tribulation, but a human soul master beat me and almost killed me." "Oh?" Yu Qing lifted an eyebrow. "What was that human's martial soul? Was he a titled Douluo?" Second brightness's golden eyes flashed with frustration. His martial soul was a very large hammer. He only had 8 spirit rings, but his strength was so high he actually suppressed me. Yu Qing's mind stirred. "Was his name Tang Hao?" Second brightness thought, then nodded vaguely. "I think that was his name." "When was this?" "About half a year ago." Yu Qing went quiet. It seemed a Yin had already met Tang Hao and they were traveling together. How far had they gone? Had feelings developed between them? As far as he knew, Tang Hao became a titled Douluo at 44. By that count, he should now be 40. 4 more years, Yu Qing murmured. "What 4 years?" Zirui asked from the side. "Nothing." He shook his head and looked at the sky. The the future a tangle of possibilities. Should he stop a yin sacrifice? Tell the spirit hall in advance about a yin? If Tangsan wasn't born, would there be no Tang God King? But without Tangsan, there was still Bibi Dong, a terrifying threat until Yu Qing obtained a godhood seat inheritance. He shelved the thoughts for now. He had the Tao companion system and plenty of time. In just a short while, Xiao Wu had already warmed up to Duanshin and Zirui, chatting happily. A lively little rabbit was indeed easy to like. Then, ignoring her mother's warnings, she trotted back to Yu Qing. He decided to tease her a little more. "Little rabbit, your mama said I'm very dangerous. Aren't you afraid?" he asked with a smile. Xiao Wu shook her head. "But those two big sisters said you're a very good person." "What if they lie? What if I'm actually a super big villain?" She still shook her head and answered solemnly, "I saw it clearly. When Mama warned you just now, the worry in your eyes wasn't fake." Well, the little rabbit had him pegged as a harmless good person. "Little rabbit, I didn't just let the Titan giant ape go. I healed him too. As his friend, shouldn't you show some appreciation?" Yu Qing prompted. Xiao Wu thought that through, found it reasonable, and fumbled in her small pouch. She produced the 90,000-year spirit bone. "Human, is this okay?" she asked, offering it. Yu Qing took it and weighed it in his hand. "Didn't your mama tell you how precious these are?" Xiao Wu looked puzzled. "Mama said spirit bones are treasures for human soul masters, but they're useless to spirit beasts in human form. Daming and Second Brightness have lots in their nests. They use them to grind their teeth." Yu Qing's mouth twitched. "With such energy in a spirit bone, didn't you ever think to absorb it?" Xiao Wu stared at him like he was an idiot. "Human, that's too simple. Daming and Second Brightness are 100,000-year spirit beasts. Absorbing a spirit bone would accelerate their cultivation and bring the heavenly tribulations sooner. They're not confident they'll survive it yet, so the bones are just for grinding teeth." So that was it. Yu Qing put the spirit bone away without caring about her look of incredulity and asked the question that mattered. "Why did you and your mama choose to transform?" Mama transformed because her lifespan limit was approaching and she couldn't survive the heavenly tribulation. Xiao Wu's expression grew a little muddled when she spoke of herself. "Mama said I was born half human, half beast. Even though I have 100,000 years of cultivation, it's intermittent, so Mama let me completely transform into a human." "After your mama transformed, did she become a little girl?" Yu Qing prompted. Xiao Wu shook her head. "No, Mama has always looked like this since she transformed." Before Yu Qing could glean more, Aru returned. Seeing Xiao Wu happily chatting with Yu Qing, her face hardened and she rushed over, pulling Xiao Wu behind her. "Xiao Wu, didn't I tell you? Human men are like the dark devil god tiger, extremely dangerous." Yu Qing couldn't help rolling his eyes. Could she not make that speech in front of the man she warned about? If the little rabbit was thoughtless, at least be tactful about it. "Mama, human didn't bully me. He just asked questions, and I don't think he's dangerous." Xiao Wu pouted. "You're still young and don't understand. Human men are the best liars. They'll use so-called love to bind you. Once you fall for it, you'll lose your freedom forever." A rose said earnestly. "Oh, Xiao Wu understands." Xiao Wu drew circles on the ground with her little foot, not really taking the warning to heart. "Hey, are you pretending I don't exist?" Yu Qing cut through the anti-human education with a dark look. Only then did Aru realize her faux pas. She smiled awkwardly and opened her storage soul tool, taking out 4 head spirit bones. "I brought the spirit bones here." Yu Qing's expression lightened as he accepted them. He called, "Shiner, Ruyi, come here." Duan Xin and Zirui stepped forward obediently. He handed each of them one of the 80,000-year head spirit bones that had the strongest energy fluctuations. "Can we leave now?" A row asked behind him, cautious. "The little rabbit and the Titan giant ape can go." Yu Qing didn't turn. "What about me? When should I perform the sacrifice?" Aru had been steeling herself for the promise she'd made. It wasn't that she didn't want to resist. She simply couldn't win. Xiao Wu was still in the transformation stage with almost no combat ability. Second Brightness couldn't even withstand 2 hits from the enemy. Aru herself could barely hold her own against an ordinary titled Douluo, even with invincible golden body and teleportation. Against the monster who'd nearly killed Second Brightness in 2 blows, she had no chance. Yu Qing gave her a look of incredulity. Who said I wanted you to sacrifice? Aru froze. Don't you want my spirit ring and spirit bone? Yu Qing sighed, his eyes burning as he looked at her. Rather than having you sacrifice yourself, I want you. The words hit like a stone. Aru recoiled like a startled rabbit, leaping back dozens of meters. Her pretty face flushed scarlet, and her eyes filled with a mix of wariness and panic. 15. The 3 brothers of the Thousand Junant Emperors. As expected, human men are all pigs. He only wants my body. Aru snapped, her gentle voice sharpening into a hiss. Don't even think about it. I'd rather die than give my body to you. Yu Qing touched his forehead helplessly. What I value is your strength, not your body. Of course, lust could be handled later. For now, he had other plans. He needed her power, not her flesh. Aru studied him suspiciously. Really? Yu Qing released his spirit rings. When 3 blood-red spirit rings flared into existence, each 100,000 years old, Aru's pink pupils constricted. See? I don't need your spirit rings or spirit bone. Only then did Aru relax and awkwardly scratch her face. Sorry, I was overthinking. So will you come with me? Aru agreed, but on one condition. I have to come back often to see Xiao Wu. Deal, Yu Qing said without hesitation. Duanxin and Zirui exchanged a glance. Watching Yu Qing abduct Aru so easily, they quickly reached a conclusion. First, determine how dangerous Aru was. If she wasn't a major threat, she could be a useful ally, and her hostility to men was actually a benefit. Aru fussed over Xiao Wu before leaving. You must stay safe. Unless it's absolutely necessary, never leave the Lake of Life. I know, Mama, Xiao Wu answered, eyes flicking around as she nodded. Erming, look after Xiao Wu and don't be so reckless anymore. If you meet danger again, I won't be able to save you. Aru looked up at the Titan giant ape. Okay, Aunt Ru. Erming, the Titan giant ape, bobbed its massive head. After making sure Xiao Wu and Erming were prepared, Aru came to Yu Qing's side. Let's go. Yu Qing nodded and waved to Duanxin and Zirui. As the 4 walked away, Xiao Wu suddenly scampered forward a few steps and called out loudly, Human, I'm entrusting my mama to you. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your mother. Yu Qing waved back, his tone carrying a hint of amusement. The 4 vanished from Xiao Wu's sight. Yu Qing lingered in the Stardew Great Forest. However, not to scheme a Dao companion contract, but because he'd made a poor exchange. Aru had traded 4 head spirit bones to save the Titan giant ape, which meant the most suitable first spirit ring for his second spirit was gone. Since they were still in the Stardew Great Forest, he might as well make up for it here. And the obvious targets were the same sources Tang San had used in the original story, the 3,000 Jun Ant Emperors. Heh, Tang San, I'll be taking your spirit rings without ceremony, he thought. Seeing Yu Qing's mouth curve upward, Aru tensed. What are you up to? She asked, gaze sharp. Yu Qing turned to her with an idea. Aru, don't you think it was a bit wasteful to let the Titan giant ape go? Her eyes hardened. Human, I've already followed you. What more do you want? He put on a rueful expression. I have twin spirits. The Titan giant ape would have been perfect as a spirit ring for my second spirit. Now that I let it go, I feel unsettled. Surprised that he had twin spirits, Aru still clenched her jaw. If you really can't get over it, I can sacrifice myself to you right now. Yu Qing feigned helplessness. Why is your head so full of sacrifice? Aru shot back. Then what do you want? Yu Qing chuckled. Are there any other high-age power-type spirit beasts in the Stardew Great Forest? Aru frowned and reflected. There are. Are you going to hunt them for spirit rings? He nodded. She looked conflicted. I don't want to betray them. She, Da Ming and Erming had lived in the forest for years and were friends with many high-age spirit beasts. Yu Qing considered and adjusted his pitch. Are there any high-age spirit beasts that grow by devouring others, like the man-faced demon spider? Aru paused, surprised he would offer that option. Her expression softened. There are, and there are 3 of them. Yu Qing's eyes lit up. What are they? How old? 1,000 Junant Emperors, she said. All 3 have exceeded 90,000 years. If nothing goes wrong, they're the most likely to reach 100,000 years in the Stardew Great Forest. She spoke plainly. Can you take me to them? Yu Qing asked eagerly. Aru nodded without hesitation. The 3,000 Jun Ant Emperors were dangerous. Since she was leaving Xiao Wu behind, it was better to eliminate the threat now. With Erming's protection, Xiao Wu should be safe enough. Duan Xin and Zirui finally interjected. Husband, your innate soul power is level 3. How can you have twin spirits? They'd thought their husband powerful enough, but it seemed he'd been hiding more. Yu Qing's tone dropped. It's simple. I hid my brilliance. A tree that stands out in a forest gets chopped down. My innate soul power is only level 3, and the green leaf spirit is seen as trash. If I exposed a second spirit, would anyone researching spirits let me be? To the spirit hall in major sects, someone with twin spirits and level 3 innate power is prime experimental material. I had to keep quiet. Zirui looked astonished. You must have been 6 when you had your awakening, right? Yeah, he nodded. Back then, my intuition told me that if I showed my twin spirits, I'd die. It was a forced explanation, but within the harsh realities he'd seen in the spirit master world, captured commoners turned into experiments, crushed by power, it made grim sense. Aru patted her chest and sighed. Your human world is too dangerous. I regret agreeing to go. Yu Qing rolled his eyes. You're a dignified titled Douluo and you call this cowardice? Humph, caution, not cowardice, she snapped. Husband, what's your second spirit? Duan Xin asked curiously. A blade, Yu Qing replied. They ended the small talk. The hunt demanded focus. A road led them to a desolate valley where not a blade of grass grew. Through Yu Qing's spiritual sense, 3 spirit beasts, each exceeding 90,000 years, lay hidden. Their auras were a touch weaker than the Titan giant apes, not insurmountable. When it starts, help me protect Sina and Ruyi, Yu Qing told Aro. Don't worry, their safety is on me, she promised, patting her chest. She couldn't take on all 3,000 Jun Ant Emperors at once, but she could keep 2 people safe, and in a one-on-one, she might even kill one. They soon confronted the 3,000 Jun Ant Emperors. Each was a 3-meter-long ant with dark gold chitin, nearly identical except for the color of their compound eyes. The moment they spotted human intruders, the ants let out piercing screeches. A tide of deep black spirit power swelled outward, the crushing pressure blanching Duan Xin and Zirui's faces and nearly paralyzing them. Yu Qing waved, sending a jade-green ripple through the air that dispersed the oppressive spirit pressure pressing on the 2 women. These ants were roughly equivalent to level 94 titled Douluo. If they advanced to 100,000 years, they'd be super Douluo, a force even the Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python together might struggle to contain. Surrounded by the 3 arching mandibles, Yu Qing intentionally emitted more life aura. Greed flashed in the ant's multifaceted eyes. The reason he'd chosen these 3 brothers was exactly this. He wanted to see if he could push their cultivation over the threshold to 100,000 years. 100,000-year spirit rings and spirit bones were worth far more than 90,000 ones. Even if the gamble failed, he still had his synthesizer as a last resort. 16. Catalyst for the mighty Ant Queen. To prevent the 3 90,000-year Ant Emperors from scattering and fleeing, Yu Qing immediately activated his 7th spirit ring, Martial Soul True Body. Emerald light shot into the sky and the majestic life domain spread outward like a tide, instantly enveloping the entire desolate valley. Within the domain, vegetation exploded into growth, turning the barren land into a vibrant oasis in the blink of an eye. To the 3 Ant Emperors, Yu Qing suddenly looked more tempting than Tang Monk's flesh. They didn't know this human's true strength, but instinct told them that if they devoured him, they could definitely advance to 100,000 years. Hiss! 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 The 3 Ant Emperors shrieked and lunged at Yu Qing from 3 directions at once. The corner of Yu Qing's mouth lifted. Rather than retreat, he advanced. Purple gold flames rose around him and starlight flickered across his fists as he took the initiative to meet them. Bang! 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 Fists wrapped in stellar power slammed into dark gold carapaces, producing dull, heavy thuds. Yu Qing deliberately restrained his force. Each blow only cracked their defenses enough to cause pain without causing lethal damage. Within the life domain, true fatalities were impossible, and his goal was catalysis, not slaughter. The Ant Emperor's strength was indeed formidable. They couldn't match the Titan giant ape, but they ranked among the top spirit beasts. Heavy, powerful attacks with a sharp whistling momentum. Still, Yu Qing's movement techniques were eerier. With Star Flash active, his figure moved like a ghost, dodging attacks by inches. Occasionally, he used Star Luo Hand, and a massive handprint of starlight would manifest to temporarily pin an Ant Emperor, preventing escape or encirclement. It was his first time fighting one against three. His opponents were 90,000-year spirit beasts, cooperating tacitly with tremendous defenses. Yet Yu Qing fought with ease, even a hint of playfulness. The clash lasted 10 minutes. Yu Qing gauged their strength, slightly weaker than the Titan giant ape, but a bit stronger than the 100,000-year silver-scaled insect emperor he had hunted before. Warm-up's over. His eyes sharpened, and the purple-gold flames around him suddenly surged. The terrifying aura instantly cowed the three Ant Emperors. Seizing the moment, Yu Qing moved like lightning, appearing before each of them in an instant. His fists struck like dragons, star-shattering, 3 styles. 3 punches were thrown almost simultaneously. Stellar force penetrated their bodies and converged violently within. This was Yu Qing's strongest single-target explosive move, the one that had once pulverized the 100,000-year silver-scaled insect emperor with its abnormal regeneration. But he did not want to kill them outright. Under the life domain's maintenance, though their internal organs were smashed and carapaces cracked, they clung to life and did not die immediately. 5th spirit skill, everlasting blue-silver leaf. 3 blue leaves flew into their mouths. The majestic power of life, combined with the life domain, dragged the near-dead Ant Emperors back from the brink. Within breaths, they were restored to their original vigor, even more energetic than before. Before they could understand what had happened, star-shattering, 3 styles. Yu Qing closed in again and threw another trio of punches. The newly recovered Ant Emperors were once more driven to the verge of death. Thus began a frantic cycle. Beat them to near death, heal them with blue-silver leaves and the life domain. Beat them again, heal them again. His life domain contained growth, recovery, and evolution. That continuous flow of life power into the Ant Emperors not only repaired injuries, but subtly refined their bloodlines and broke through their limits. In the distance, Aru watched, dumbfounded. Yu Qing's ability to toy with powerful spirit beasts and control life and death filled her with fear and an inexplicable fascination. That instant kill level self-created spirit skill chilled her, while the life-filled domain made her body and mind feel comfortable and even a little elevated in life level. Duan Xin and Zi Ruyi watched with admiration, seeing their husband display divine power and secretly resolving to work harder to catch up. Yu Qing had originally only wanted to test whether he could catalyze the Ant Emperor's cultivation to 100,000 years, like Tang San in the original tale. After tempering them more than a dozen times, he was pleasantly surprised to find a faint trace of crimson appearing among the spirit power they emitted. His confidence soared, and he intensified the training. 20 times, 25, 30. When he beat the 3 Ant Emperors to the brink of death for the 30th time, the spirit power around them finally transformed into vivid crimson. The majestic pressure of a 100,000-year spirit beast burst forth. "It's done!" Yu Qing grinned and quickly stepped back. Feeling unprecedented strength surging through them, the Ant Emperors were ecstatic. Hadn't they preyed on their own kind and hunted spirit beasts for this very day? They felt no gratitude toward Yu Qing. Instead, their urge to devour him only deepened. The first thing they did after advancing was unleash an even more violent assault. Roar! Yu Qing blurred into a purple shadow, instantly retreating 100 meters. He looked at the 3 now 300,000-year Ant Emperors who had erupted in ferocity, and the heat in his eyes flared. He decisively deactivated Martial Soul True Body, and the life domain collapsed. With his left hand, he quietly condensed a pitch-black, ancient Tang Heng Dao, his second Martial Soul, the Black Star Sinking Abyss. At the same time, he stretched his right hand toward the charging beasts and made a grasping motion. Star Luo Hand! It was as if the starry sky had descended. A giant hand of brilliant stars materialized, its palm swirling like a galactic vortex, carrying oppressive power. It layered constraints over the 3 Ant Emperors, freshly advanced and unfamiliar with their new strength, temporarily stripping them of movement. Yu Qing rose slowly into the air, the black star-sinking abyss raised toward the heavens. He poured spirit power into it, while drawing on the power of the star-horn demon whale torso bone. The majestic stellar power surged into the blade like 100 rivers returning to the sea. Buzz, dazzling starlight erupted from the blade, coalescing into a brilliant purple-gold pillar of light that shot skyward as if to pierce the heavens. Far away, Aru's face drained of color. She grabbed Duanshin and Ziruyi, one in each hand, and her third spirit ring flickered frantically. Teleport! 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 She didn't care about consuming spirit power. She performed consecutive teleports to move away from the battlefield at top speed, only stopping once she reached a high, safe airspace. From there, she looked down with lingering fear. Yu Qing held the long blade horizontally, drew a deep breath, and his eyes sharpened like the edge of a knife. Then he swung. Sinking abyss, star annihilation slash. An incredibly concentrated purple-gold blade of light detached from the sword and swelled wildly in the wind. In an instant, it became a purple-gold canopy that blotted out the sky. Within it, endless stars were born and died, exuding an overwhelmingly domineering, annihilating terror. Wherever the blade light passed, space split inch by inch. The three ant emperors, suppressed by the starry hand, did not even have time to scream before they were utterly turned to ash by that world-destroying blade. The earth convulsed. Nearly half the valley was annihilated by that single strike, and a terrifying bottomless chasm suddenly opened, 1,000 zhang long. Whoa, Yu Qing slowly sheathed his blade. Looking at the masterpiece he had created, he could not help but remark, after advancing to title Douluo, the power of this move really has become even more insane. High in the sky, Aru held the two women, staring at the bottomless abyss below that seemed to lead to hell. Her eyes were filled with incomparable shock. In that moment, she no longer had the slightest inclination to resist Yu Qing. At the bottom of the abyss, 3 vivid red spirit rings slowly emerged, emitting an alluring light. Yu Qing quickly landed and collected the 300,000-year spirit rings into system space. He searched the chasm's bottom and found 3 spirit bones pulsing with energy, 1 torso bone and 2 right arm bones. Having reaped a bountiful harvest, he flew up and returned to Aru's side in a few flashes. Aru's expression was extremely complex. She took a deep breath. Congratulations on obtaining 3 300,000-year spirit rings and 3 300,000-year spirit bones. Yu Qing rubbed his nose and chuckled. Just luck. A mere fluke. At that, Aru's beautiful brows twitched. A fluke? You call that a fluke? She calmed herself and asked, I noticed several of the powerful skills you used just now didn't show spirit rings. Are they all self-created spirit skills? Yeah, Yu Qing nodded frankly. Aru couldn't help but let out a soft sigh, a hint of envy and loneliness in her voice. You humans are truly blessed by heaven. She had lived for tens of thousands of years and witnessed humans rise from weakness to prominence. In just 10,000 years, they had become masters of the continent and spawned 2 deities. Their cultivation system let them reach the level of a 100,000-year spirit beast within a century without facing terrifying heavenly tribulations. Yu Qing's brilliant talent made her see the possibility of a third deity being born. Perhaps building a good relationship with him was the best protection for Xiaowu, Daming, and Erming. Aru resolved herself. Thank you, she said softly. Yu Qing blinked. Thank me for what? Thank you for showing mercy to Erming before, Aru said sincerely. If you'd used this strike then, I wouldn't have been able to save him. Yu Qing waved a hand and spoke the truth. No need to thank me. That strike's too powerful. Using it then would definitely have affected Xiner and Rui. I wouldn't take that risk. Aru pursed her lips and didn't press the matter. Instead, she asked solemnly, Can you tell me your name? Yu Qing. Yu Qing. Aru repeated softly, then revealed a gentle, sincere smile. In the future, please guide me. Yu Qing felt the hard shell Aru had kept around herself, always ready to snap back. Softened the moment she said, Please take care of me. A gentle smile curved his mouth. Of course, I'll be counting on you too. Yu Qing, where to next? Do you still need to hunt other spirit beasts? Aru asked, taking the initiative. Yu Qing rubbed his chin, thought for a moment, then shook his head. Not for now. Let's leave the Stardo Great Forest. After harvesting 300,000 years' worth of spirit rings and spirit bones, he had no need to stay for the forest's ordinary beasts. His next required ring would have to be from a spirit beast with a metal or annihilation attribute, something rare in Stardew. Besides, he genuinely wanted a long break. If it hadn't been to get Duan-Shin her fifth spirit ring, he wouldn't have gone back into the forest so soon after leaving. Aru nodded obediently, and the four of them left the ruined valley. 3 days later, they walked out of the Stardew Great Forest unharmed. The hunt had been a complete success. Duan-Shin had absorbed a 20,000-year crimson-eyed burst dragon ring, and Yu Qing had acquired a breathtakingly beautiful, extraordinarily powerful rabbit spirit beast, Aru. It was an electrifying victory. They went straight to the small town where they had stayed before to rest and plan. Aru, seeing a human settlement again, brimmed with curiosity. She peered at the shop fronts and passerby, taking everything in. Though she didn't do anything untoward, she had the exact look of a pretty village girl, seeing the city for the first time. Innocent, wary, and irresistibly charming. Yu Qing and the others humored her, accompanying her as she explored the crowded streets. "So much has changed," she murmured, watching the bustle. "You've been here before?" Yu Qing asked. "3 times," she answered. "But each time it looks different. How did you live among humans before?" he pressed. She sighed, helpless and hurt. "I mostly hid. Men always stared with ill intent and tried to take advantage of me. I was nearly dragged off a few times. Women avoided me, calling me a fox spirit who seduces men, though I never tried." Looking at her naturally lovely face, Yu Qing couldn't help chuckling. "With a face like yours, do you know how irresistibly men react?" Aru frowned. "Irresistible?" He lowered his voice conspiratorially. "To some men, it's like a 10,000-year spirit bone. A delicate face, a slim waist, long legs, and a gentle, accommodating air. How could men resist?" "Am I really that good-looking?" she asked, uncertain. Years by the lake of life had left her little sense of her own appearance. "Of course." He pointed out that people were staring. Her cheeks flushed and panic rose. The greedy gazes reminded her of past dangers, and she wanted to flee. "Let's go. This place feels dangerous." She edged closer to Yu Qing, voice soft. Yu Qing almost laughed. "Did you forget? You're a titled Douluo now. Stand tall." Aru slapped her forehead. She had been away from the human world so long she'd nearly forgotten her cultivation. She wasn't the helpless little rabbit who had to hide anymore. She straightened up, resolved to teach these men a lesson. Her expression hardened, and her titled Douluo power flared. 9 spirit rings manifested beneath her feet. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, then 5 black rings, emitting brilliant light and oppressive force that blanketed the street. "Insolence! Who gave you permission to look at me like that?" she snapped, waving a jade hand. Vast spirit pressure slammed across the square like a physical wave, bowing the leering men to the ground. Their lascivious eyes cleared and turned to terror and pleas. "Spare us, Your Excellency. We were blind. Please forgive us." Aru stared. So strength was the only truth in the human world. She swept a cold gaze over the trembling crowd, then snorted and withdrew her rings and the pressure. Word of a female titled Douluo in town spread fast. They checked into the best inn and took the 2 top rooms, Yu Qing with Duan-Shin and Zirui, and Aru alone. Aru blinked when Yu Qing handed her a key. "You'll sleep alone tonight," he said with a smile. "Get some rest." "And them? They're staying with me." Aru fluttered her lashes. 3 of you in one room. Isn't that cramped? Want to move one of them into mine?" Before Yu Qing could answer, Duan-Shin interjected cheerfully. "Sister Ru, don't worry. The 3 of us used to live together. There was plenty of room." She gave Zirui a mischievous wink. Zirui blushed and nodded slightly. Aru rolled the words, "live together," over in her mind, and then understanding dawned. Her face turned crimson, and she practically fled to her room, slamming the door. She remembered now that Yu Qing and the 2 women were husband and wives in practice. Sharing a bed was natural. But seeing Zirui's blush and Duan-Shin's teasing look had made her imagination run wild. She bolted for privacy. Yu Qing and the 2 women laughed at her flustered retreat. "Looks like we've got an innocent big bunny here," Yu Qing said, rubbing his chin. The 3 of them went into their room together and closed the door. What happened in the bathroom was a pleasant bath followed by full dual cultivation service. Afterward, they moved to the soft king-size bed and continued their cultivation together. Once, twice, then again, making up for weeks of abstinence until, exhausted, they fell asleep in each other's arms in the small hours. Once both women were deep in slumber, Yu Qing's consciousness slipped into his sea of consciousness. He opened the system space and took out the oddly shaped all things synthesizer. He also took out 4 head spirit bones, each glowing a different color. From reaching 90% affection with the 2 women, he had earned 100,000 yin-yang points. With the 4 head spirit bones Aru had given him, he'd passed 2 on but still had enough. He was eager to test the synthesizer. "Let's see what these 4 head spirit bones can make," he murmured, eyes bright. He checked them. Soul Eater Demon Python Head Spirit Bone, 70,000 years. Moon White Fox King Head Spirit Bone, 70,000 years. Burst Ape Head Spirit Bone, 60,000 years. Earth Lizard King Head Spirit Bone, 50,000 years. "Aru's collection is ridiculously rich," he said, regretting he hadn't asked for more. If the Sky Azure Bull Python or Titan Giant Ape were even older as 100,000-year spirit beasts, their hordes would be extraordinary, maybe negotiable next time. He set the synthesizer to work. The machine confirmed a cost, deducted 37,000 yin-yang points. The 4 bones were drawn into the synthesizer's bottomless maw. White, yellow, purple, and black lights flashed and merged at the forge. Gradually, the colors deepened into a rich scarlet. Numbers raced across the synthesizer's blue crystal display. 120,000, 240,000, 300,000, then stopped at 325,000. With a burst of energy, a head spirit bone, pulsing with blood-red radiance and terrifying power, ejected from the machine. Yu Qing snapped it up and scanned its info. Spatial Psycho Burst Head Spirit Bone, 325,000 years. Attached spirit abilities. Psycho Burst Rush condenses vast mental force into a powerful spiritual shock that directly damages the opponent's soul. Hyperspace Solidify manipulates space over a wide area to create a solidifying force field that can freeze time and severely restrict an enemy's movements. "Not bad. A space-type ability," Yu Qing said, thrilled. Space-type spirit beasts were rare. He'd already crafted Starflash by forcing starlight into an unstable wormhole, but it had severe limitations. Studying spatial power from this head bone might let him extend Starflash and stabilize it into a reliable channel. Should he fuse it now? He hesitated only briefly before deciding to fuse. The fusion took time. By dawn, it was complete. The immediate change was an explosive growth in mental force. His mental strength had already reached the spiritual abyss level back when he was a spirit saint, which had let him handle a 100,000-year ring. After becoming a titled Douluo, it had only reached the middle stage of that realm. Absorbing this 325,000-year head spirit bone pushed him straight to the peak of the spiritual abyss. A qualitative leap in range, precision, and control. He checked his spirit power rank and was mildly surprised. He had only reached level 96. "Looks like most of the bone's energy went into mental power," he mused. He wasn't unhappy. In fact, he didn't want his spirit power to climb too quickly. He had a clear plan. Condense the first soul core by rank 70, already done. Form the yin-yang complementary dual soul cores around rank 90, not yet. Finish the third soul core by rank 99. He hoped to follow a path like the legendary god of emotions, but without tutors like the Snow Emperor or Ice Emperor, he would have to feel his way toward the yin-yang dual soul cores on his own. Advancing too fast now might leave his foundation unstable. Chapter 18. On improving Yu Qing's strength, soul skills, and soul spells. Current estimate of Yu Qing's strength. At rank 96, even without using the star-burning battle method, Yu Qing has absolute suppressive force against other titled Douluo of the same rank. He is slightly stronger than Sword Douluo Chenqin and can hold down a rank 97 titled Douluo. When he activates the star-burning battle method at rank 96, every attribute undergoes a qualitative leap. His spirit power rises to a level comparable to a rank 98 Super Douluo. All his self-created spirit abilities double in potency, and the Sunken Abyss Star Extinguishing Slash reaches the power of a divine technique. First Spirit, Gold-Veined Purple Leaf. First spirit ability, full restoration of wounds and spirit power. Vibrant vitality, purple sun leaf. This 4-character effect, plus the leaf name, 3,000 years. Second spirit ability, strengthens mental force and purges negative effects. Crystal clear mind, lotus leaf. Crystal clear mind refers to the spirit. The lotus symbolizes purification, 5,700 years. Third spirit ability, simultaneous burst of physical strength and spirit power. Dragon elephant might, sky holding leaf. Dragon elephant conveys brute force. Sky holding denotes explosive power, 10,600 years. Fourth spirit ability, reinforces stamina and boosts mental force. Sound in body and chi, moon lotus leaf. This raises both endurance and spirit. Moon lotus echoes the spirit's attribute, 24,000 years. Fifth spirit ability, restores the dead and regrows flesh and bone, stimulates the fountain of life. Endless vitality, blue-silver leaf. Endless vitality pertains to the power of life, supported by blue-silver grass's vitality, 50,000 years. Sixth spirit ability, doubles physique and grants a golden body shield. Indestructible golden lotus leaf. Indestructible matches the physique enhancement. Golden highlights the unbreakable shield, 70,300 years. Seventh spirit ability, martial soul true life domain, leaves guard the living, true form reveal. A 7-syllable chant to emphasize solemnity in the life domain's scope, 100,000 years. P.S. The life domain cannot be independently activated. Martial soul true body must be used to invoke it. Eighth spirit ability, ultra-rapid regeneration with presence dampening. Formless nirvana, glass leaf. Formless indicates concealment. Nirvana signifies rebirth. Glass leaf denotes transparent energy, 100,000 years. P.S. When the body is intact, the formless effect is preferred, granting extreme stealth, undetectable to anyone below rank 99. If the body is severely mutilated or critically damaged, for example, if half the body is lost, the ultra-rapid regeneration takes priority. It requires the heart and brain to be intact. Ninth spirit ability, invincible defense or deathless force. Eternal through the ages, green lotus leaf. Eternal corresponds to immortality. Green lotus traces back to creation, 180,000 years. P.S. The user may choose either invincible defense or deathless force. It can be used up to 10 times within a month, but after those uses, it will fail for the next 6 months. 4 forms of star shattering, a close-range power-type self-created spirit ability. Form 1, absolute eruption of force. Form 2, similar to the 8 collapse blast, it implants hidden force within the target. Form 3, burns stellar power to channel explosive energy directly into the body for from the inside destruction. Form 4, combines force, hidden force, and explosive power, like a rainbow piercing the sun. Within Yu Qing's 2 major realms, these forms are almost invariably lethal on contact. For titled Douluo and above, they are effectively 2 ranks. Starflash uses stellar force to forcibly construct an unstable spatial wormhole with a range under 1 kilometer. Unless the opponent is a spatial type of equal rank, the wormhole cannot be interrupted or detected. Star Luo Hand, a seal and suppress self-created spirit ability, similar to acupoint strikes, but imbued with a sealing effect. Against an opponent of equal rank, the suppression lasts a full 30 seconds. The effect weakens as the foe's rank increases. Sunken Abyss, Star Extinguishing Slash, releases all stored stellar force, sublimates saber intent to the utmost, draws myriad stars to resonate, and delivers a single slash of annihilation. Its domination is unparalleled. It guarantees death against those of equal rank. Under the star-burning battle method, its destructive power is comparable to a divine technique. Star-burning battle method. This method ignites a stellar core within the user and burns stellar force to boost spirit power, physique, strength, speed, and other attributes across the board. Prerequisite: condense a stellar core and store stellar force. The star-burning battle method does not noticeably raise spirit power cultivation. Rather, the stellar force stored determines how long it can be sustained. Usage requires extraordinary physique and spirit power quality. Drawback: the longer it is maintained, the heavier the bodily strain. Even in Yu Qing's current condition, the method cannot be sustained for more than 1 hour. Note, all of Yu Qing's self-created spirit abilities and secret arts require stellar force and do not raise spirit power cultivation. They provide only a substantial combat boost. Today, the novel enters its initial promotional push. Please collect, keep reading, and hit the update button. These stats are important. Thank you, dear readers. Readers who enjoy discussing the plot are welcome to join QQ Group 55618040. 19. Life and Destruction. Yu Qing's consciousness withdrew from the system space. He opened his eyes slowly, pupils flashing with sharp light. The confusion he'd felt moments ago about the yin-yang complementary dual soul cores had given way to exhilaration and clarity. Tao Companion System, dual cultivation of yin and yang. Yin-yang power, he murmured, his fingertips tracing unseen patterns on the bedsheet. Extreme yin and extreme yang intermingling, giving birth to each other. This could be the perfect foundation for forging the legendary yin-yang soul cores. A daring plan took shape. If the yin-yang power generated through dual cultivation could become the core, perhaps he could actually construct the yin-yang complementary dual soul cores. He made a decision. He would visit the ice and fire yin-yang well again. Only that blessed place, where extreme cold and extreme heat coexisted and energy was abundant, could safely sustain such a dangerous experiment. Suppressing his excitement, he returned to the system's space. The 300,000-year spirit rings from the Thousand Hammers Emperor hovered there, radiating boundless energy. A more tempting idea followed: synthesis. If 4 10,000-year spirit bones could be fused to a top-tier 320,000-year bone, what might 300,000-year spirit rings produce? A 400,000-year ring? Or something even greater? Starting his second spirit from such a height could vault him far past other prodigies, perhaps leaving that lucky Huo Yuhao in the dust. Synthesizer, fuse these 300,000-year spirit rings, Yu Qing ordered eagerly. A glaring red warning flashed on the synthesizer's blue crystal screen. Insufficient yin-yang points. Synthesis impossible. Yu Qing frowned. He still had over 80,000 yin-yang points. How many are needed? He asked. 150,000, the system replied. 150,000? Yu Qing snapped. Why so many? Synthesizing spirit bones wasn't this extreme. Text flowed across the screen in explanation. Spirit rings that share the same origin and similar quality require much more energy to fuse and sublime than different kinds of spirit bones. Far more yin-yang points are needed to balance the laws and prevent energetic clash and annihilation. Yu Qing sighed and shelved the idea. Clearly, he still had work to do to accumulate the yin-yang points needed for such undertakings. He withdrew from the system space back into his body, calmed his mind, and circulated his cultivation technique. He compressed and refined the loose spirit power gained from that night's dual cultivation, forging it into something denser and purer. Then he guided the miraculous yin-yang power within him, slowly refining it and channeling it into his spirit, feeling an almost imperceptible but real improvement in its quality. Just as the refinement finished and he was about to open his eyes, the scene around him twisted and changed. When he could see again, he was in a completely foreign space, an endless gray-white expanse, empty and desolate, with no sense of up or down, as if no concept had yet formed. "Where is this?" he muttered, wary. His spirit, the purple-gold leaf, manifested beside him, rotating slowly and radiating a rich aura of life. Then a soft green light bloomed in the center of the space and spread like vibrant paint across a pale canvas. In the blink of an eye, a vast forest erupted beneath his feet, its life aura thousands of times richer than the Stardew Great Forest. A single breath there felt like a cleansing of his very soul. His life, origin, rejoiced. "This is the divine realm's forest of life," a gentle voice said, pleasant, soothing, as if it could calm any agitation. Yu Qing looked up. A woman in an aqua-green dress stood not far off, appearing without a sound. She was not strikingly beautiful, but she radiated a warmth and serenity that made it impossible to mistrust her. Alarm bells rang in his head, but he composed himself and asked, frowning, "Who are you?" The woman smiled like a spring breeze. "Don't be nervous. I mean you no harm. To show good faith, let me introduce myself. I am the goddess of life. I have no fixed name, but my partner, well, he likes to call me Little Green. You may address me however you wish." "Goddess of life?" Yu Qing's pupils constricted. He forced himself to bow quickly and respectfully. This junior Yu Qing pays respects to your highness the goddess of life. No need for ceremony. Her smile softened as she looked him over with curiosity and appreciation. The power of life in this human was astonishingly pure and dense, beyond most his age and even surpassing many deacons. Stranger still, after his intimate acts with those two women, his body produced a mysterious energy the goddess had never seen before, yin-yang power. Not as refined as divine spiritual qi, but possessing unique properties. All of it made her want to take him as her successor. "May I ask why your highness has descended to seek me?" Yu Qing asked cautiously, inwardly imagining the worst. Had his use of the life domain to accelerate spirit beasts attracted celestial attention? The goddess chuckled. Earlier, the god of thunder reported that someone on the Douluo Continent had used high-purity life force to accelerate 300,000-year spirit beasts, and asked whether I, or my attendants, had interfered in the lower realm. Yu Qing's heart stuck in his throat. "I thought it amusing, so I told him it was my inheritor and sent him away," she said lightly. He felt a chill. She had just officially called him her inheritor. "Afterwards, I sent down a wisp of divine thought to look in on you," the goddess continued, her gaze sharpening. "I have watched you for some time. Your talent and your insight into the power of life move me." Yu Qing blushed scarlet. "Watched me for a while?" That meant everything with Shiner and Ruyi during dual cultivation. Social death, right in front of a god king. Mortified, he shrank inward, but the goddess only smiled more pleasedly. "A near-ultimate power of life lingers around you, yet it is not innate. You cultivated it, acquired it. In the Douluo world, one spirit decides the innate. Yours, though profound, was born flawed, like a leaf without roots. I am curious, how did you step by step reach your present realm?" Her gaze burned with admiration. Yu Qing gave a bitter smile and nodded slowly. "Through endless suffering," he said simply. "Turning stellar qi into life origin had been agony beyond words. It seems you paid an unimaginable price for today's achievements," the goddess said gently. "Yes." Yu Qing's tone was firm. Then she grew solemn. "Human Yu Qing, will you accept my legacy, become my chosen, and in time inherit the life-god position?" It was an offer of god-king level legacy. His heart leaped, but reason held him fast. The temptation was enormous, but the risk was greater. The goddess of life and the god of destruction were wed. Accepting her legacy would thrust him into the highest circles of the god realm and draw the god of destruction's attention. At his current strength, he was less than an ant before a god king. Worse, he bore the greatest secret, the Tao companion system. Divine scrutiny could not be evaded. Without absolute power, he could not bind himself to a god position that demanded unquestionable depth and a trial he might fail. He decided quickly. He bowed again, respectful but resolute. "I thank your grace profoundly, but please forgive me. I must, for now, decline your legacy." The goddess blinked, plainly surprised. "Are you certain? Countless souls dream of such an opportunity." "I am certain." He lifted his head, eyes clear. "To inherit is a shortcut to godhood, but I'd rather rely on my own strength and carve my own path than tread another's footprints." Her eyes searched his, as if seeking some hidden motive. Finally, she sighed, regret mixed with understanding and even admiration. "So be it. Human, I hope one day to see you in the god realm, your own way." He exhaled in relief and bowed. "Thank you for your understanding." The space beside the goddess rippled violently. A savage purple thunderbolt tore through the void and crashed down. When the light faded, a world-stopping figure stood revealed. A wide purple cloak hid his face, only two pulsing scarlet glints showing beneath the hood. Behind him, 9 purple-black rings slowly turned, each like a collapsing world exhaling boundless ruin. The forest of life's serene air thinned under that domineering will. "Little Green," the newcomer rumbled, authority tempered with faint concern. "Why send divine thought to the lower realm? Has something happened?" It was the god of destruction. "Nothing, Little Purple," the goddess answered gently. "I merely found a very interesting seed of life." She inclined her head toward Yu Qing. The god of destruction's scarlet gaze swept over him. Even being observed by that gaze made Yu Qing feel like everything was ending. His soul quaked. Life force is indeed pure," the god commented coolly, a faint curiosity in his voice. But on a second look, those scarlet eyes narrowed, surprise sharpening his tone. Excellent, boy, you nearly deceived even me. What's this? The goddess asked, startled. Excitement rang through the god of destruction's voice. This human, interesting. Within him dwells ultimate power of life and ultimate power of destruction. What? For the first time, the goddess of life's lovely face registered disbelief. She focused on Yu Qing again and pierced through the thick veil of life. There, beneath the vibrant vitality, lay an extremely faint yet supremely pure breath of destruction. Two utterly opposite forces, forces that should annihilate one another, coexisted in uncanny balance inside a single mortal. It truly is, she whispered, her expression transformed, shock giving way to wonder. Ultimate life and ultimate destruction housed in one body. It defied the laws of the universe. Throughout God Realm history, only one being had ever wielded opposing authorities, he who had once wrought calamity and nearly shattered the God Realm. The Dragon God. 20. A century-long pact. I am the god of destruction, one of the 5 god kings of the God Realm and its enforcer. His deep, august voice echoed through the empty life forest as his scarlet eyes fixed on Yu Qing. Human, will you accept my trial for the god position? He offered it almost without hesitation. If the figure before him had been a spirit beast carrying such contradictory power, he would have destroyed it on the spot. But it was a human, and an astonishingly talented one, so the idea of taking him as a legacy inheritor could not be dismissed. A being who mastered both ultimate life and ultimate destruction, once fully matured, would be an irreplaceable pillar for the God Realm's future designs. Yu Qing felt helpless. Had he met these 2 God Kings years earlier, before the Tao companion system bound him, he would have accepted without a second thought. Now, under the burning scrutiny of the 2 God Kings, he could only steel himself and with great firmness shake his head. I'm sorry, Your Excellency, God of Destruction. I cannot accept your trial. The scarlet light beneath the God of Destruction's hood flickered with surprise. Every mortal he knew craved a divinity legacy, yet this human had refused 2 offers in a row. It was inconceivable. Human, his voice carried a pressure that made the air tremble. Do you understand what you are giving up? A broad road straight into the God Realm, a shortcut to godhood in a single step. Yu Qing replied calmly. If you know that, why refuse? The God of Destruction paused, incredulous. And I'm not offering just anything. I would be giving you a God King's position. Yu Qing bowed respectfully, but his voice was resolute. I do not want to use shortcuts. I want to rely on my own strength and forge my own path to godhood. Ch-ch. The God of Destruction clicked his tongue. An amusing, arrogant human. Becoming a god by one's own power was spoken of easily, but much harder in practice. In the current God Realm, only 2 had ever achieved it in the long ages, Angel God and Sea God, both from the Douluo plane. For a human to aspire to such a thing, it was preposterous. At that moment, the goddess of life gently pulled the God of Destruction aside and murmured in his ear. Yu Qing couldn't hear the words, but he saw the destructive aura around the God of Destruction falter, then the twin scarlet lights in his hood flared as if struck by a brilliant thought. The goddess had pointed out that Yu Qing carried power from both of them. If he could ascend, perhaps he could hold both of their god positions, opening a possibility they had long hoped for. The God of Destruction, in turn, wondered if this might present a new chance to produce offspring. For that faint, precious hope, the 2 God Kings decided to try again. Human Yu Qing, the goddess of life, said, her voice softer than before, yet solemn, the positions of Little Purple and myself are not ordinary 1st or 2nd class divinities. They are seats among the 5 God Kings of the God Realm Committee. If you accept, you would become history's first dual God King inheritor. Dual God Kings. The temptation alone would drive most beings to madness. Yu Qing's heart pounded and his face tightened in conflict. He wanted power, but he bore too many secrets. The system must never be sensed by any other being. Standing before God Kings, he was too weak to protect those secrets. He took a long breath and crushed the monumental temptation once more, voice hoarse with restraint. I'm sorry, Your Excellency, Goddess of Life, Your Excellency, God of Destruction. I still choose to become a god on my own. You, the Goddess of Life, was speechless for a long moment, then sighed. You truly are an extraordinary human. Becoming a god is no casual boast. the god of destruction said, for once offering genuine counsel, an enormous exception from him. Angel god and sea god both spent 1,000 years accumulating faith before achieving fruition. With your talent, are you willing to spend such time? And in lands where worship already belongs to established gods, have you asked their permission to gather belief? I know the road ahead is hard, Qing said, clear and determined as he met the two god kings' gazes. But I am not without support. As he spoke those words, he willed his powers. The pitch-black Tang saber, wreathed in a destructive aura, his second spirit, the black star sinking abyss, appeared in a flash. Stellar power surged within him as he shouted, "Star-burning battle method, activate." A violet gold aura wrapped him instantly. His spirit power shot upward at an alarming rate. Under the burning stellar force, its quality and quantity temporarily exceeded their limits, surging to a level that shook souls. I carry twin spirits, and I created this stellar cultivation method, Qing declared, his voice like steel, stars sparking in his eyes. I draw the power of countless stars onto myself. With this foundation, why couldn't I open a new path, prove godhood through raw power? The god of destruction's scarlet gaze grew grave. For the first time, he truly saw the human standing before him. To have created a system of one's own and made it work, such talent, ambition, and luck were nothing short of heaven-defying. Impressive, he said low, admiration clear in his tone. In all my endless life, you are the first to dare forge a new way. Perhaps you truly can ascend this way. Yet that very brilliance made the god of destruction even less willing to give him up. He exchanged a glance with the goddess of life. Both saw the same resolve reflected in the other's eyes. So, human Qing, the god of destruction's tone turned heavy, divine might pressing down like a world-ending weight. I ask you once more, do you covet the god positions of life and myself? The goddess of life held her breath, waiting for his answer. Qing felt the immense pressure, but he drew another breath and answered steadily, I do, but I refuse to inherit them through a god trial. Good, you have courage. The god of destruction swept an arm. Then let us set an agreement. Please speak. Within 100 years, his voice cracked like thunder, law resonating. If you can become a god by your own strength within a century, the positions of life and myself will pass to you automatically, no trial required. But his crimson gaze beneath the cloak turned icy. Destructive power made the life force tremble. If, at the end of the century, you have not ascended, I will descend personally and erase you utterly. Destruction, the goddess of life cried, trying to dissuade him. 100 years was a flicker of time to a god, yet unbearably severe for a human. He raised a hand to silence her, eyes fixed on Qing. Well, human, do you dare accept this 100-year pact? Qing hesitated only a heartbeat. 100 years? More than enough. With the system, the cultivation feedback from his Tao companion, and yin-yang power, he was confident he could reach level 100 within 20 years. Agreed, he answered loudly, lifting his right arm and clenching his fist, eyes blazing at the god of destruction. The god, understanding this lower realm gesture, rarely raised his own shrouded fist. Their knuckles met in the air. The pact is sealed. The words rang like law itself, and an invisible binding coiled around Qing's soul. Then, your graces, how do I leave? He asked. When our divine thought departs, you will naturally return to your body, the goddess of life replied gently. Qing bowed solemnly. Thank you both for your regard. If I ascend, I will repay this kindness 100-fold. The goddess of life's gaze softened. She already thought of him as a junior. Even the god of destruction's face was a fraction less harsh. Take this sliver of origin destruction as a greeting, the god of destruction said. He lifted his hood, revealing a handsome wild face, and with a flick sent a condensed purple bolt to Qing. Qing's second spirit, the black star sinking abyss, trembled. A complex pattern of purple lightning crawled along the dark blade from hilt to tip, pulsing like a living thing. The black star on the guard opened like a demonic eye, arcs of destructive purple light flashing within. His spirit had undergone a breathtaking sublimation. Good. This will also keep other busybody divinities from bothering you, the god of destruction nodded. The gift was both a boon and a mark of protection. The goddess of life smiled and tapped a fingertip, sending the purest origin life into Qing. His first spirit, the purple gold leaf, flared with light. Its purple-gold hue became flawless, crystalline, glassy gold. Life aura surged tenfold, and the leaf evolved into a true golden life leaf. All his spirit rings were instantly enriched by the equivalent of 10,000 years. Feeling the earth-shaking changes and the heavy investment of the two god kings, Qing said earnestly, "I will repay today's grace." "All right, the pact is made and the gifts given." The goddess of life looked at him with affection. "We must go. Farewell, little one." Qing respectfully sees your graces off, he bowed deeply. "I look forward to our next meeting, inside the council hall of the god realm," the god of destruction added. Hand in hand, the two gods' figures faded like phantoms as their mighty divine thoughts departed the space. Qing's eyes snapped open. He was still sitting cross-legged on the inn's bed, dawn light spilling through the window. "I'm back," he exhaled, half as if from a dream. The transformed power surging within him and the cold century pact branded on his soul proved it had been real. He summoned his spirits reflexively. A leaf of lustrous, glassy gold floated above his palm, its veins like liquid gold and starlight, radiating gentle, boundless life that bathed the room in warm light. His spirit had evolved to an unprecedented height, the life golden leaf.